Skype, our radio and TV services. Welcome all on board our weekly civic education program today, Saturday, 13th of the 9th, 2025 at 17:10 the UK time. Assalamu alaikum. Badingulu, Alkontom, Mobedauda, and Ebe, Watu, Skype, our radio and TV services, Kalkontom, Kal Bismillah, the program of Ming Kasurajang, Loku, Ninian Tembentida, civic education program. Yo, Alingal Badimala Mustafa, Yami Mimbesiri program of Kunayan Tembe. Okay, then we'll continue in the feature Skype, our radio and TV services by Kochi Studios, West Yorkshire, Leeds, Stencil Mountain, Bunti Program, Civic Education Program, and the Accent Harit Mustafa, Jamanekal, and Fiji Bunti Georgie. Like we usually do on a weekly basis, we do have guests. Kalunda also to Minni Alonke Bunyajang, Kanaka Taramfe, discourse school of impending current state of affairs back home in the Gambia. Today, our guest would be is Modu Musa Sisaho, the police PRO, public relations officer. So what we'll do, first of all, we'll leave you lot to introduce yourself. I'd like to come to you first, Day, if possible. To say hello and say bula inin lamerlan in giberlan in your control, but they seems to be up to something. Right. Saul, greetings, Saul.
Good afternoon, Mustafa Jame. Thank you very much for inviting me again to join your platform with the tagline of civic education, which entails a lot. And I am privileged to be here with my sister Ndei. It's funny, like you so reminded me, Ndei and I graduated from Muslim high school. Sometimes they can't, but I knew that Ndei was in our school, but Marlon was here graduated. But like Zoka, we were all bridesmaids. We all graduated. And ironically, with Adama Barrow, the same year, 88, from Muslim High. So it's a pleasure to have Ndei as a sister again. And then greetings to Modu Musa Sisaho, the police PRO. Again, thank you very much for the work you're doing. People are going to question, they'll have doubts, but if you keep doing what you're doing and you have the good conscience, at the end of the day, your conscience will settle in. So, and then here comes my brother, Mbadi Njola, brother Aziz. Aziz is happy. Kasumai.
Suma ke baju basenbu, nonebu.
Nyome, Kasumai, chep. All right, over to you, Mustafa.
Thank you very much, Saul. Jomresa from Malagan. Okay, Mod Musa, say Bula Mole in your control, and then, and Sinananko and Delta Kakanyamanguru Mudurka. Yes, Mod Musa, thanks. Greetings.
Mustafa Abalkabake, Mbal Nime Contona, Momon Nimbe, Paneloto, Mungalo Nimukin Nafolo, Tamanka Slanga, what in Paneloto. Full Lemenialo, Willa Kumata Bake, Membedini, security and Fanala, to Gambia Police was the Ludula, Bangkok, Menna Boss, Menna Kotoke, na advisor Mafana Control Aziz, what new what I can call behind the scene, can Hakilola or Panabit by the Abimu Bankudo quality. Yamera winning at a back by the when people have different opinions, and it only enters Saban Conolets. So if a put in Yam and into one Kaidinya back and look at a more Fanatamera in Palaso into an Edo Kijele as a security officer. So we appreciate that a lot. na antinde ate kenya alhamdulillah watu wati kala message jol jenna whatsapp abe jinin karola watu wade mukaja be nyawo nya buka pasi ga mukaja be nyawo nya buka pasi buka pasi la concerns will be risk so we appreciate that too and nyindo mu dangolti sol nana mata mit nak but from afanya men bro but in we are in the public space jama we interact with people that we've never met even with all the honor and I appreciate this opportunity once more to have a discussion here as matters related to the Gambia.
Tembaraba ke Modu Musa. Ahandai?
Yeah, mbafala mba molbe kontona and be Piaro welcome na Piaro this all normal tar diari so yeah, but abarka pake you make time ka time okay ka nai ni mole ka because banku do ko mole ti be ku kilingole kilekan be lafta ku kilingol la be lafta Cairo nin sabato la banko to so kacha kita dron kol dol ka gena lerle alla do ko ngol kan tol kanta ndol fanna do ko ka je ko alla yalla do ko ka nyanta kala nyamen ando al nyanta kol men soto la alfana ya soto abe sonea to la like sonea alto fana ya life sonea so ni nga je wo nya dron aka easily nka fo mole ko I mean no way jang polisol no sometimes if I'm necessary no I'm unnecessary just many explain la ini ka kachale ini ka membe dol to le you get lost e call ke sometimes come all jele pang yemi fo danda make so ye tambe taxi la dindu taxi kono kam ko ifutata ila so kono yela mol commande so do ko be mo tankaro le ti amanke ku coming nyanta nyo so bala nyanta kelala nin do ko tata nyama mbafala sole fanang abarka bake afanang nataka mol join sign in the program because definitely hakilu kilim buka ke kilinti hakil fula saba sulata mol bela because situation be nyame sol malon ko ni fanam muslim high school graduate because 88 and fananing alaji sonyol as you said apparently Barrow was a classmate but what is even more apparent funny is that Nimbaro fanata in the same by Crab Island as well. So it's funny. The whole connections are so funny. Yes. As is Abarkabake all the time, and especially in Programo is very good. At least one of you have time to be here because Allah expertise all the time is always really something we like. And I'm happy to like ko piaro ka foko ka contact advice because it's all for experience share for londo fonga janjanga tala because londo ni amuta ima ini molma tala nyote ma drong nafatala wole mu londo la nafati an experience fanang wole kakala nafati Mustafa barka bake as usual boringo kaje kom baby jang amang easy kamol ta actually momo nala hajo anala cool but you give up you can make sure ko ni happen na la moy la fa ba ala barka bake ngalon ko sometimes dol kala fila dunna programme o ko no sometimes dol ka o bebu ka keno because ninga mol natin kala file ye call address me yalon ko al beba question kan so wole ka easy because nin ko be mol selendi lambe aka abuka abuka answer soto wala dinan ka ko ne amari nata dron na make so ko albe men fen ko na ya safe ba talale alle questionol men be soto isa je nga answer because fo nga ñoo understand nim nga ñoo understand rabata fo nga nim police ko tara ñu fo nga ñoo understand para ala barka bake and Piero once again a barka bake ila time ikana because jama bu kasila social media lale masakuda dokular kasila social media lale sako diaspora so but really what ninge kumandi ika make so le time so to into letra a barka bake.
Thank you very much. Anay Aziz Yomre Safun
Musume Mustafa di Suleiman Solbaji di Ndey ni Mod Musa Sisa ñom ne safu mama kanan kan ka sumay jot jaat be jobe kamik di kanaka Gambia mati mofamma mom mi kajawra keno ja kanan kan ka sumay mamak ne ba jaati man manum Solbaji an manum jaata fujuma fola di kueti Gambia naba tutu yege tugaba woto son ñom kaduway mamak ni wata nu ngarum purejo man mik di bu kanak di forme we Mod Musa abaraka bake kontanta bake keje jang obviously ninga ba nyamantele nyanta fole ko na boss
Aziz seems to. Can you hear me, Aziz?
And present at all times wo kumaya tante fe back. Mustafa ku kilinde wo can make very uncomfortable adum all the time I'll cover for work. It makes me uncomfortable. When you refer to me as a security expert, I'm a commentator. Expertise is a very big word me alonko a la responsibility a councillor. I just know a little bit of security. I speak mostly from my person. So I'm not an expert, but thank you so much for honoring me in that regard. Allah barak.
Aziz, much obliged. Appreciate. Right. Modu Musa, how long dolbota gunjur leton dolman police school back and I'm a village boy. So Dol village boy muka police school back. But in the first place, I'd like you to help me with this coming police. Gone police mo model man police la do ko long. Model ni police je coming niko police il munamu police la do ko tin lafta prio fanye and na kacha ko lafta men jibe la be wala bakela kuti mi an ka focus the Gambia police and in selective justice kacha nyimbe diala bake because follow be min kela be nyi watu tala kete ten to fanfan ke KJ yi watu min ikata pour kana ka tramfe watu wate ninge commandi ibe ka hesitate fan ika hale bulambul pour kana ke la kataram fejang wo some fenede mi alonko it is much appreciated you can say across so otonin kumbo nyama follow police kan wo kan na monon police wala do ko de what's the role of the police
abaraka bake ngamira wokumata bake la kan sako ka kacha folo ni wala baydi ni faham roman keno in terms of definition to ba ko de ka fo nyama pour ka long police on jaato mu buneti sino fono doron niya police o de wala moti me ya lonko abe molle do kola ando abe do ko men na molle fa ya bulala molla sasala ando wo mol fa wolle yo do ku kenya be ta ka be landa e tablo kan ka itan ko lafta ye do ko ke temme nimbo fola wala in essence ngamen na fe nan dron wala ko the constitution of the Gambia me ya lonko wule ya tinna police ya fa wasota Gambia kono wo fana sinan diro ke police wol nyanta ka tamu ne mo la tamandira buloti wala ya sabu we have what we call the police act même kitabo tim loi la silola me ya itandi ko the Gambia police force ke kuti me alon ka sabatino andum abe nyaton ko sotla me yalon ko ka kumandi wala e ko kumandi the inspector general of police akata momandinti but wala fana be nyaton ko hakela ando fana be ka fokel ka bundali yele ka je ko police ya nyin abe sabatino la nyin banko ka nyame police o dana kan niya cross wala ko moti me yalon ko abe tenku ngoni kairo sabati de la silo la me yalon ko wolle be laari ñinem police o de kaji ko momon ne membe banko kan ibe tamala wayla hakko mu fenfenti luwa kono mo be kanya wo hakko kono and wala atin ila topiko be injustice or selective justice mo kuti me yalon ko akuma ta ba kala bi ko fo faham role yake kuul be laari nyame wo sabu kamala donc ka soutien donc in essence wala kaje ko baydi Gambia mol bota dame mankiliya yol mankiliya plurial mankiliya la fi nakul mankiliya bari nin nata luwa mu klineti ite mu juma o jumaleti luwa mu klineti to anyanta jilal ko wato wati wo luwa ni mol nata doron mo be in mo si o sifati luwa ni sika kuteme alon ko mol be tamal na wala isaje mo si kanyan no wala ya sabu police o nyanta kala wo moleti abuka bay nak kilin wati dol silol ka bulano mudol bulla baydi moment timma but again in essence ila nyine karo kamala wala police
akumada bake interesting Mbe Nyiningar killing role Bambulumbola laje, and then I'll leave the floor open for the rest of the panelists. So Nimfula Nyambala, Amamme, Niwato Kono, being alone the Mimbe caring and in Minketa. Kula Mimbe den Gala la funding kill fundita. Ye kuke mi alon ko itolea jagomu ila sula kuolede. Police dama beta je fo modole mira doso to je kukete je mi alon ko mole amera ko police little ko kusia etiole kam kusia tioti. Fana ngo buta je modol min alon ko fo e ko murito leti ani modol min yala ke kan komandi to dolla wol fana ye geraw ke mamman ke ko la min be dending ila sula ko la yaje ko itol fana ye wonyanto le soto. Bari Galata afuntita comme mbenga alon nyame wolko yetol arrestle e detain, and then bari nyin don no minni keta muritol to ani wodol kafudol minni fanam funtita kuma mbo woltato dina nyaton kol kuma funti woltato bere wolta e geroke to je aketa modol e jakal koti yalom jama dol kala minna jan clarity am buka la fi kambaluni ikola iko amu nin do ya desa di do kala fale do ya tala so pour que ñing jang klendi molie molbe min foge ga fole ko police ka selective justice leke min ya lon ko be ñim fannale ke ñine ke so pour ka tol to senendi wo ko kono wo atata nyaadi le fu modole ya mera ko to mo victim multi wala selective justice police ko leke muneketa
abaraka bake comme yafanya men ko kamuliyale ibukati kilewati man di kul ka ko nyama niya korosi kabrin tumala menna ntol nga kalamuta police bundato nga kalamuta ko mol men ye fanko mandi o gom sa bopale mba aning gala na mol aning EFS justice wata tam mol men ya lonko ye kibaro janjandi social media ka foko itolde dum kare men bina wala sibito men bina aketa lungo time ya lonko be funtinale ke la balambaya yitandi membe dending kura e sinfamenta GSM wala operation yato megabyte la fanna na nyongol baydi ni ko police bunda jamal la soto police la bunda dol bije wono police wala man ya lonko wolu ka informol do ka ko e plain couleur wala intelligence wala mo timela ko indi mol katra yo kan ne pour ka information o soto kula men be kirin bankol kan men sa timna no asike mamman sikke no walla kusudi no sate kono fon to fawne banko jannem banko dingol lem ban fo wole tanale ban so kabini kibaro futa tan tolma wotuma laale police on ata ka funti kay tandiro ke de ko baydi ñi be kiri social media ñi ka fo molle ko ibe ñim ma nyaale kala mais même fo le do wolam ko nga kala mutale social media ko mol ko be funti la lun kare ibe ñine kala mais même fo le do wolam ko police kundade tol man kibar soto officially ka fo Allah taka ñine ke baydi sibole ba walandi me ya ron ko ni mo masta ka o kenya ke doron ka wosi dole noma bo be establish renne so ni atara o manke mais mo be dane la pour ikana ke kuti me non wala be kela walla da kana bula kono baydi na kata doron kamunta be luwati nyala na fela nan andum police wolte sonna femo fe me ko abe luwati nyala wala keta usuto nyi na kata ko ben so when attack so more he continues na mol fana be on the ground to do their surveillance as early as morning because information men kana kamun da kama yitan du wolam ko fo police wala fete man da fi bank tol be men kelam ba kelal wala fota tan tol so wo sabu kamal de fana nga pare kamma so man da juno na mol fota je la ngin beta ka kodon wala kan na presence tandi je pour asikeno ni kilo follow la men fana na rani wala police je asikeno wo sa sabu isa bay wala kulla bay wala ana nyongol that was the essence bari akamunta woman na kino fo woyin konne da fakita kita nyame mbengo kala mutale ko mu fanna kile wote fanna fulan jango yeme fo wala muri tolti bang wala dina nyato kafudol anga kala mutale wato men imamu fulta kibarol funtindi kibarol men ya lon amira wato kono adiamu siyata te comme nga fo nyame donc police la do ko menti wala kasaba do ke kayro wala men do banko kam so kabri ngo kala muta fo police fan wala keta multimedia kakon kata keta dumale ferol te kaji ko nyin ko nyi iba sof la nyame supreme islamic council is involved other elders were involved pour kaji ko because ni akoro se fango after ten to dame yalo ko chodiro keta dame wo mu dinki at yalo ka bento le banko e bantalla ya fahamle akamunta diamo nyin tata fo fannala bar men na kete dron police wala kibaro ta ka ki kibaro ta ka ki wol fon kan ka foy ko silate la police le pour yana he dan ko police imamo ni yana he dan ko police imamo ni ndam man den wo muritol fanan ul fanala mul men ni nyaton ko di tan ko ni tan ko police station to follow kan tun police station report ta jire akamunda it was an active kind of
Yeah, I think we lost him there. He might be using his phone, internet connection in a, yeah, right. Hey, someone is trying to join by the name Lei Juf. I don't know who's Lei Juf. Somebody is trying to use Lei Juf. Okay, all right, that's fine. So yeah, the PRO is frozen. Gambia, as usual, is the internet connection issues. So maybe if he's back, but before he's back, your thoughts on this whole issue, Sol Baji?
Well, Mustafa, thank you very much again. It's a pleasure to have the PRO join us. Hopefully, we can have the internet issue resolved. Again, it just shows where we are as a country. At any given time, when you're talking about important issues such as this, be it law enforcement, government officials, any TV, even last week Saturday, it's ironic. The brunch was on with Lamin Cham. The power went off, and so they had to revert to using a generator, and they moved their station. They actually went to another set where they sat to do the interview, which was important. They were talking about the issues about the UDP and the elections that are coming up and what the UDP is going through. So we are impacted negatively by some of these critical infrastructure that we are not able to fix, Mustafa. Here is the PRO educating the public, telling us what the definition of a law enforcement officer is in simple man's terms, and it's difficult for him to be here. So when you think about it, you think about the country as as Gambia. Fontol dumbe progress can from regress can. It's a major problem. Every day I can happen. Last week you had that with the Gala young kids when they were talking. I mean, just internet services, Bukadano, Purmol Sasuro, Mustafa. So if you look at it, you tend to just sometimes you get frustrated and you feel like you're giving up because coming from day. I mean, the struggle has been a long time. They've been in 1997, more than you struggle order to change and define our country. And we continue to go through this problem. So I'm going to speak for the PRO in support of what I think that should happen. The PRO doesn't have to say it, because we don't call them secondary. But the internet services, a la provision balia mu problemos. The first thing that I would address now that the PRO is back, Mustafa, is Birintara Gambia this year. A lot of things became apparent to me that in Gamira local law enforcement, police, I didn't think they did, but they do have patrol services. They have motorcycles, and the police patrol service in the inner city area or urban area. I was impressed by that. The other thing that I was impressed by was I found new police stations being built. Whether they're getting support from the donor partners, but at least Serekunda, a very beautiful, huge police station. Police station right there. I told you I'm a child of a police family. And I still believe in the police. If you look, you will see this. You can read what it says, Back the Blues. This was given to me by a student of mine in my school 3 years ago. Knows every day in Kaduna school. Back the Blues means support the law enforcement officers. I was one of them. We understand the importance of law enforcement, Mustafa. Law enforcement, absent of which the country cannot develop. For law enforcement, yes, sort of. Maybe example only Dikan. But law enforcement must go in the sector of being the service of the people. You understand? They have to have these take of Kafako. We are here to serve the people. It's going to be a PR kind of communication between us and the community. Let them see us as partners in fighting crime, so that when they go to work and they get off work after serving the country for 8 hours or 10 hours, they come home, they're tired, they can go to sleep. Yalong Sino is very important, Mustafa. Nimoliela is Sinoda. The law enforcement officers are out and about patrolling the communities to make sure that nobody does a break-in. Nobody violates anybody's right. And if there's an incident, they respond quickly and de-escalate. I'm going to say this word again, de-escalate. O problem with de PRO, well, de-escalation is a problem. I'll talk about that in a little bit. But that's the bottom line of basically what the police law enforcement is. Serve the people, build community relationships where you are not suspicious of them and they're not suspicious of you. But you have the two things. There has to be reasonable suspicion and probable cause. And when these are problems we are on a control button delay in our country. There has to be training. Well, let them do these reforms. Because near reforms, the PRO's job would be much easier. He would be seen as a hero, not a villain. Not the because the police is here to serve the people. I remember, what did the Constitution give them? He mentioned the fact that the Constitution has given them this police act. Penal code. It's a penal code, PENAL. That's a penal code that defines what the police officers' duties should be, what they can and cannot do, and what would they find reasonable pour more search or probable cause pour more arrest. You have a reasonable suspicion, you don't need a warrant. You can go and search the person because you have reasonable suspicion. But also you have a line you cannot cross. Either more arrest Nola without telling them what their rights are. You have to read them their rights because they must have broken something. And that goes back to this penal code in Gambia for them. So it's a learning lesson for can be kakacha because we have to empower the police. I have family members who are still serving in the police in different levels. I was menu NSS like I do 4.5 years. So I worked for Sadauda. But the bottom line is in Kamenjejang, Laftale working na Bankoro. First and foremost, Mustafa, police all they must be equipped. The police stations have been built. Sugura Station last week now for the Gogo. It's a terrible building. They have to build it. They have to fix that. Let them tear it down and build a new station there. Come here, Menke Kandulato. But police all they're trying. I see that. I have to give credit. But we need to empower them. Mustafa, the police must have landlines where people can call a certain number on a daily basis at any given time to report a crime or suspicious of activity. You can't use cell phones for that because obviously you see what's happening with the internet services. And they have to have transportation to respond. They have ambulances, I see that, but I need to see where police are giving transportation. Comment all the time. Trocol be available in Assisian police station or yala motor soto to be able to transport people to respond. We should be police Gambia, we can provide police officers with motorcycles, provide them with bicycles, provide them with transportation. Police can hop into an emergency vehicle and respond. And we have to have ordered intakes. If there is an incident, what happens, Mustafa? The police, you will have either a police officer respond, and then you will have the secret police. Important. Police officers should have people who are visible, but they should have people who are also incognito. If a suspect police model, but you don't know who it is, these are detectives. They all respond, and then you have the emergency vehicles, first responders. Will be like a responding incident. So if there's an injury, then they take over. The police can now pivot and go into the investigation of finding out what happened. But the detectives are the ones who would go into the community because they've built a relationship. They know they can trust them. Because criminal but some people are scared of saying the truth. But if you have a detective who is in plain clothes, who can come and talk to people, nobody would know what they're giving them. That will help them in their investigation. And I'm going to give them credit, Mustafa. Gambia police, they are very good at investigating things, but they lack the resources. Even Senegal, I believe the Gambian police are capable of doing investigations in a better fashion. And this is tied to a British colony. So please give them credit, but they have to use these two things. Believe Gambia loi bi police ñaari mbaxana la nekut bena de man loolu la gom parce que Mustafa Kini nakal tudadi Mamadou Musa mi di wax ni there was an incident. If these kids are driving around and breaking into people's properties with this speed speeding menate not that more arrest me along ka fama mu is at the top. That person can just pick up the phone and call the IGP or Arma Baro call. They create a problem for him. We need to cut that cord. Your police all bula yela do okay. Inyabe Omari mena adingo be intinyaro men. If they discipline that child, everybody becomes safe. You hear the Gala kids, they're talking about the fact that ko it all men ke ka mugambel na faldo, but the new men kata ka modol borin ka tinyaro ke. They arrest them and they let them go. Before now close, Mustafa, and pass it on to you. I have heard from a lawyer, an attorney, who has told me that Gambia saying we have kids in gangs who are in schools. And this is a problem for our country. You don't you can but in Gambia kids are now becoming gang members to the extent that activities sort of even private schools all the police have to be there. That means we're just using our resources in the wrong way. So there has to be this civic education where police must have to have reasonable suspicion, and they have to have probable cause, and they have to apply the penal code. Nibe more arrest la. You have to arrest them based on the law. Kana foko mole yung kumande ako ni taita any more arrest. Look at what they did to Ali Killer Ace. I saw the officer Saab. Okay, Coco, we are legal and we are lawful. You arrest him. But what does the law say about arresting Killer Ace for telling we are legal and we are lawful? And what law did they break for being at that location at that point in time? The only thing you can tell them is please disperse, because we feel if you don't disperse, we might have an incident. So when you are monkey, then you pivot to de-escalation to convince the young people to go home. Take the petition from them and take it and deliver it to Pura. Ya dila for kusai I'll say, Allah petition or deliver it to Pura, or take one of the young people that died and then disperse the people. But police will cause problem also the Gambia, Mustafa. They like to escalate the situation. And when you escalate the situation, it gets out of control. Let me finish by this. At my high school, we have 2,600 students. 2,600 students. There's 230 teachers and staff members, auxiliary, all of them, auxiliary, involve everybody. If those 2,600 students are agitated, Mustafa, in a city that is 10 square miles, Manasi City Public School, Manasi City La Police, they're not even 300 police officers. If we have an incident of 2,600 kids on a riot, do you think we will be able to manage that? And our control, no. So what we do on a daily basis is de-escalate. If we have an incident, we jump on it, we de-escalate it, we separate the kids, we discipline the one that's at fault. Farmari municipality for congressman, you could care less. You have to apply the law. Nimo, okay, he did something and you didn't do anything. So if you have to be suspended based on the code of the school, you get suspended. Ninga okay, na banko be kontano sodolale. People would trust law enforcement. Kairobinal development bekela molbe bitale la hajo toporola. There's going to be an economic boost in our country. Allah baraka.
Baraka. I jump a point, interesting point kumara bakela coming Aziz police keba PRO bien jannim binala PRO kam because jang ayemma bakela coming ite millong coming dinge to long ite ba police ninga ku ke talatana bar modo bije wo nin ku ke talatala coming model bije coming ko selective. What your thoughts on that, Aziz? It ain't Palaso Marala. Funny, Brite Benunje, Obinyadile.
Okay, Mustafa Ala Barakabake. Unfortunately, Sisa was not able to exhaust our explanation.
Yes.
Couldn't say elaborate no, but Namira we've had most of it. But follow left observation lekela jang. Ko the topic selective justice interfere is not appropriate for the kind of discussion. I think it should be selective enforcement.
Okay.
Yes, because memo justice embodied something bigger than the police. The police side of the justice itself is the enforcement. Sisao, I don't know if you will agree with me, and also Baji, because I now learned that Baji is even more knowledgeable about law enforcement than I do. But I think it should be selective enforcement.
Yes, I totally agree with you. I totally agree. Though I have seen the topic,
Yes.
I had no issue with it. Well, like you said, enforcement on the occasion. Yes.
Okay, Silang, with regards to police law selective enforcement, amanjawyadi, if it is not abused. Because Nyajibe, the law gives police a lot of discretion. And if police, there is a belief in one of the police philosophy that if police have to enforce every law all the time, then police will in itself be ineffective. Because almost every aspect of public life is regulated. Medical sumuna is an offense. But nimbi police obe sumo by la emotarabe sumuna lambedokan. Does he have to stop and enforce that, or you should focus on Amemembaika? That discretion, why would you police only? Of course, it's not a carte blanche discretion. That discretion can be examined, Kajibe, whether it is not abused or whether it is overstepping the bounds of police. So what I want to say is that yes, selective justice is important. Bari sole dulale fo malambe fe lafano laji fo kabulo kosai. De-escalation. In the Gambia, nteamira de-escalation na jele ko is a weakness. When that is the strength of the police. When you find yourself in a situation, or when you are responding to a situation, you have to ask yourself, what outcome am I seeking to achieve? And what's the best way to achieve that? And the most efficient way to achieve it. And Saul did demonstrate what the police could have done with this this gala demonstration. Sisa laid the foundation they are going to demonstrate. But in police we came out Kafoko and told them any indications that's gonna happen. But saying you pick this up. If you are proactive and you have this mindset of this escalation, you don't need to wait for them. Reach out to them. This is what you're gonna do. Is that the case? Yes. Then tell them or ask them why, and also see with them how they can still achieve their objective without necessarily confrontation. That is interface. That is the one thing that is missing. And why is that missing? Is it because we want to to flex our muscle? We want to teach these kids a lesson? That is the question. And that kind of mindset, reform say wo fenkenole, but in Amira, the reform should be targeting the police. A metaphor, the reform should target the police culture, the police mindset. It should target the police leadership in terms of Puria understand what they can do to help facilitate some of these issues where police can be able to dialogue with the community. A similar situation that Saul is describing. Even I am at a university near Lonko. We have maybe about close to 20,000 students going. There is a strike between by the faculties. So there is no school. This whole last week, the student union and the student body came out protesting until we only have 24 officers for the entire 20,000 students. What do we use to be able to do this? The escalation. Our security director, try to not be the story, because this protest is not against you. It is not against the Dal security. It's against the leadership of the university. Bring that into Pura. Is Pura protesting against the police? No. Why should the police be the headline? Because Sila Mufutata quota damning, nobody is talking about Pura, but they are talking about what the police did or did not do. And all of that is because of the way they handle, the poor handling, the lack of dialogue, the lack of de-escalation. So on Fedal, that is the one unfortunate thing, but overall police are doing very well. We should commend them. When you look at Mbota Daming from 2016 to date, even police corruption menkafo mafa bantali, but at least atalat. And that is not just by accident. It's through committed work, men police hold back and sustain work and supervision. But these other things, they are very much important in terms of kind of garnering public support and sympathy. That de-escalation, that dialogue aspect of it, is missing. When you look at policing in itself, the use of force or violence is the last resort, and that violence should be proportionate, reasonable, and necessary. But only necessary only to de-escalate that situation. In the Senegalese term, near Senegalese Borejibe, they say door pour ambunta. You only hit your person to get away to wrestling. So door in itself is not what that wrestling is meant for. But door is just to create bunta. The same goes for policing. The use of violence is only to facilitate a short-term end. So it's the last tool of choice in law enforcement. But on the contrary, in the Gambia Police Force, it's the first tool of choice when it comes to dealing with people. That's unfortunate.
Thank you. Thank you, Aziz. Hande?
Okay, is the PRO coming in? Because then I can...
Yeah, I think it's
here.
easy.
Yeah, I think adding to just Purka add Aziz and Sol Linywa. Manafane, the culture which also Aziz emphasized, Manfuna Bobu is that's the most important J. Because they believe the Kopolisol, what ni and told Jedrong already is like anti. For they are this anti-people bang because because what in a demonstration oje. Even when they near Pamito dealer, near police will be jedrong, I get nervous because what the police will be jedrong, tinyaro sikiye. And that is serious. And in the Gambian context, because Ntolajang, police will katara dula beto, haniye Pamito fenke. Muka understand why ning didn't want that Pamito apply. Police will ko alta kela. Why is it that police will book alternative D? Because Ntolajang, Pamito nyinine. But you cannot do it this day, bari ali de dosole, ya change ya okay, or we said okay, we can take these dates. Because the whole idea you can have demonstration and pro-demonstration. Jama kelole karabanje. Polisol ka barama jele. Molka kuja male ke polisol. Sometimes when I see the way police are handled, sometimes jang demonstration. But this is too much. But instead, Dola Gambia, police otara katamo kosi. Police otara atake lipa. Even police all ba fokan dindi wele ko ni de yabate. Ni video to. Ni de yabate. You are there to protect. You are there to make sure that everything goes right. Ibafoko. Sar fango. I was surprised. Police all, of course, hide, like you keep everybody, but that is wrong because everybody saw it in the video. The behavior of SAR. All in the coming expect ka discipline. Ma for ya bay, but ka discipline to call him on the tap and discipline. But police will come, all right, and the behavior is not. There is nothing wrong. That even make it that we are afraid of police, then the relationship of Kata, I see this tendency that hasn't changed during Jammeh time or co. Police all are controlled by the executive. And what is wrong because Mbe Ajele. Munatina. Nindole demonstration ke Femamboje. Nindole demonstration because it seems to be by the government or anti-state, then they were brutalized. They were brutalized. Even the male arrests, even the way they are handled, they were brutalized. What is totally wrong? Because Ndolbemu killing most Gambians will have family members in the police. They have high level police. But all these things, the police will not stop like either is silata molale or the moment mol the wrong liparolem. Hani police on yininka. This is the bad worst culture. Hani police ye mo take off okay landlord. Don't ye come for. What is wrong with them? Why are they so angry? Come for cool nyinti. I told you I'll tap really moldoku. Niente stop. Niente nyinin kalale why? I have a right to ask. I have a right because sometimes muka confused level because mukalo munadna. I need to know maybe to address that. Don't ye come for. Next minute you resist but I'm not right pour wa tamokos. Why? Munati na nyimbe nyanta kela because uniform wole be bala you can do whatever and this is a fact in a daily basis. Molka nyinete ndefo ngone experience jele na brother ben drive kan ala insurance I change le anyinata the one I mentioned the old one will be motor ye mall stop ka foko police ko ha for you know munana manati fali ji fali okay njita we follow next minute iko ha bori mesa bal ko take me to court take me whatever you want and then even that there was anger and even at that stage the nga for police ko be even the neo talale but in tell rights nga kalita alalele ko motentela right ala even fala le baritena right then it escalated luckily dole nata wole ko no you know nyimanya na futari ka ko no nte bimbelori nyim police da album frole bondi la jang nobody motentela right because this is like abuse. I feel like I've been raped and I'm not going to accept that. So these are simple things fonga nyo karandi wola ko people have a right to ask questions amanke ko mbe challenge la. So, Piero, these are the problems. Also. The videos were out there. That SAR behavior is unacceptable. Here, they will do investigation. They will investigate him. They will check on him. They will talk about discipline. They will come out and apologize because it was very obvious. So, as well as we commend you people, we know technology is a problem. I would even fight for like Saul, like Aziz, to make sure police is well equipped because Nsula Talale, whether we like it or not, Nsula Talale, we need you people and we should work near Jang, Molin police all be dokola, imagine Jang, no way you need Yamuta, African Sol Kafo, near police lane, feed the Kabia police lane. It's not that because people are comfortable with the police. Ninga fengo fenjinga police can go, ngadole je lori bundada so jande, police ole na to check whether it's right. Because it's not like they are as intelligent as us. No, but the society, everybody believe you are here to help us. Maybe do call. But in Gambia, it's like Altol, Sakatuma when it comes to something against the government or something that they see Amantara Mansakunda. People politicize the police, become politicized. So then after wale fola dal ko fali alfan jube dal.
Okay, Inimbarande, thank you. Piero, Kuma Jamale for a lot have been said. You know, I think you've been listening keenly about what Mr. Baji Sol Baji said, Aziz, and then there's observation as well. And then to add something to that, I would say, well, like you said, the title, I've changed the topic title to be enforcement. So it is enforcement now, selective enforcement. So Janning, all these observations, you know, be for Janning Binawoto, can you help me for Tonya, selective enforcement kake police le for Abuka Keje? Can you help me with that?
Okay, abaraka bake komi ya fanya mendo. Alkamwele, right?
Yes, very clearly.
Good. Yes, before nga futa woto nga kachame na muta nga timbande la faka complete. Yes. So that we are able to understand in context what we're talking about.
Yes.
The first part that is with respect to the gala and Gomsa Bopa and the rest. We've concluded that. The second part is with respect to the Imam, and I did say that the Imam was invited, and the other party were equally invited because they reported the case to the police station in Kanifing. So it was being handled there, and it got to a level that it was referred to the headquarters. So to be honest, we were not expecting that crowd. We were not expecting that crowd, and from the videos you could see we are not even prepared for that. They came almost into our headquarters. Because we invited them and they mobilized themselves and came in solidarity with him for one reason or the other. And being a so so wala nata ke fulan jango wo so modoro na wada nyin dol fana nata because in jikita ko wol fana ning wo mo si falle bina because nga first experience with the imam we expect ko ntola nga nyin dol fana kumande but that's the expectation. It's highly likely they're going to copy the other party, so we at least prepared the headquarters that they couldn't, and when they came we allowed attending ala mo dantan in the headquarters then yanta hajo men kalawto yo hajo ke ijanjanta. So the confusion now is within a week or two or less than that, youthful fundita ko be nyin kafuta nyoma dinkirato, and police will katakela in essence. That's the question. Amal looking see grupo dol fana funda me fana banko dingol de wol fana danaka similar formation at the police headquarters, and the police as it kumanta to fact. Then also more fana another group did the same thing. Now people are saying like you are just saying whether that is selective enforcement. So what I want us to understand is um tonyale iba jela ko ni atara mole yitandiro ko itol be funti kan bulul la wala funti kan silol la kana kenya le ke kenya mi alon ko as far as we are concerned woni luwa ma nyota and don't ntol fana reach out because the only way we got the information is on social media. And we also went on the same social media platform because that's where we communicate to the public. Of recent, it's been a platform that, you know, not 100% every Gambian is there, but most of people who matter in that aspect are there because so when we saw it, we wrote because our expectation is that this is not the first time we had in such here. So ni ate befuntika, they would apply because that's the procedure. So Emma apply. I know war is another debate. That's another debate again, But that is the established procedure. And it only was established procedure in Yalon. You understand me? And this is why we don't also want to surprise them. But we went that very night and sent a press release informing them that, or anybody, because they were calling for people to come out and gather there and give in time and place and everything and how they want to do it. So we wrote, you understand? And again, it could have been seen because behind the scene, poor members ke jama be ka fundi. You understand me? As early as possible, our men, our officers were on the ground, okay, to ensure that maybe ni na because tolko en kana fundi, ano ni momo funda luwa membi jam men ko ni momo funda de eman silo so ka fundi. You understand me? Luwa membi jam ibu luwa le tamandela. So we can disagree on, in a democratic society, luaning, any whatsoever. But what I can say is, luate me along at the laring jande. In our definition, you gave me the opportunity to define who is a police officer. And this is where it is very relevant. Yeah, faham. Ntol Gambian ko, ntol le da ko fanyi lual na men the constitutional kono, any other laws when you are around it. Can ensure this is what the police will use to police the Gambia. And no, the Public Order Act is part of it. The Public Order Act is legal. You understand? Yes, the perception that we are in a democracy, so the laws that are within the Public Order Act are not in agreement with a democratic dispensation. That's a different discussion. And I think we really have to agree to this. But I understand when it's about activism, when it's about so many things, people understand what they are doing, they understand the laws around it. But again, there's a choice that they have taken. They want to be part of that change that they are calling for. But you have to understand that this is a police force. And the police force, people could expect, okay, police only and all that. But again, how that was a form of proactive as early as that very night when we got the information. We shared the press release to inform them we got this information, but our expectation is X, Y, and Z. Since you know that and you did not take that, this is the position of the police. manda wala woso mo so manda juno jani to le nan dol fa ni saban dinkira nyin tol wo be pour kay tan dila ko nga men fala kunun do lori ngol to de jikira ko ni tol na to dinkira do ya fa hamle ye police ol jiji wote ba ko police ol fana ye men fo fana lu be wo kande woto asike no they can back step and organize themselves, and as far as we are concerned, take the necessary steps even Kalapur Kanaka protest. Because a protest before that, they were given permit to protest. So Neiman patients or they choose not to use that medium again to get a permit and do the protest again and doing this. So for us, we don't see any Maje Wonyama. So what I sabu, there has been. And number two, when we came, because last gala protest, me along we've seen the difference where we have the general duty, we call them general duty officers, not the paramilitary. Many along the world, those are the ones visible everywhere. These are the very people we deployed first. We have the chief of operations for Serakunda KM division, where he was with his officer commanding of both Kalinding, Kairaba, and Bundung. So they were there with other officers to engage these people. You would see even in the videos instances where Madi was engaged by one of the superintendent officers, having to have a discussion with him about where they were kind of morals debating about the Public Order Act and all that. So that was Ube Ketale Fanalto and all that. It got to a level where it was decided that these people should now move. Nyanta Kabuyele. What engagement? Okay, that's the time Sar and his team came. And when Sar and his team, another team on Water Menna, the purpose of Puriyena at that time, that is the enforcement, the PIU, was to disperse them. Because then the general duties have done what they're supposed to do to ensure that Purkaji will be Janjang Yeta. Yeah, family, Yakato Bekele, as far as we are concerned, Imantano. Then the last result, coming here for what Baji said, is when the police intervention unit came in to ensure that these people disperse. What disperse our colony? Because protest we consider it a protest, and the protest can eventually turn into anything. It can turn into hostile. You understand? As far as I know, at that point, it wasn't. Okay. Now the issue is if you are instructed by a police officer to leave, because we have to also understand if you are instructed by a police officer to leave, for example, you are asked to leave a premises, because you have the right, because the laws are there. You have the law, it's lawful, you are there. When you and I both know that gathering, as far as the current laws are concerned, it's not lawful. And it's important for people to understand this. Yes, it's true. What harm can they do? What harm have they done? Their presence there at that point in time. People can question that. But again, we have a procedure. We have laws, we have rules. And all of these laws and rules need to be respected as far as they are within our law books. And I think we have to agree on that. So this is why when they refused, the general duties refused, what they allowed to the other one, because levels them. As this is here, Saul is here, they understand enforcement levels them, of engagement. It's nothing they can do anymore. They've done what they can do, then the next level will come into play. And that was the next level when Sarah and team came. And Sarah and his team came was trying to ask the same thing more or less for them to leave, because the orders are that you have to disperse here. We are not going to entertain your presence here, you have to move. So that's the time interjection came, come anti-Kafanyame, interjection came and all that. And, people feel the way Sarah how comport Nyame as a person, people can disagree in it. Even the way Sar addressed his subordinate, the RSM there, people are not happy with it. But again, Aziz and Baji would agree sometimes, yes, it's in public, yes. But, in the service world, it's totally different. More capacity and the civilian capacity is totally different. But as far as the work is concerned, we have not seen anything in that. But this is important for us to understand. This was a stage protest. It was not allowed, and they were notified that it would happen, and they forced themselves to do this. Number one. Number two, the imam, the other set, they came. They were invited by the police to come to the police headquarters, and they came in that crowd or with that crowd. So I think it's important for people to differentiate the two and understand. This is what I have in that regard.
Okay, go on, Aziz.
This is our explanation. And when you are looking at it at legal aspect only, yes, it's fine. You did everything possible. But when you look at it from legitimacy, which rests with the people, Ibajelako, tomorrow, it was not ideal. But the other point I'm asking B, if you were to do this again, would you do the same or would you do something differently, and why? Let's come to the case of the Imam. No, Sodoro. Why did the police invite the Imam? Why didn't they consult with the Supreme Islamic Council, Kafoko? Situations like this are likely to result in public unrest. Can you call the Imam and deal with it? Would that have been another way of de-escalating? I'm just asking. Because Memu, Nyalonko, you are only looking at the public order aspect of it. But the best place to resolve this issue of the Imam and other proclamations would have been police raising this as a concern to the Islamic Supreme Council and tell them to deal with that issue.
Okay, so
you don't have to. You don't have to justify.
No, I'm not. You are muted. You are muted. You are muted.
You are muted. Aziz, you are muted.
Bringing the other side of the argument so you can see the other side of the coin.
Certainly.
The pura protest. Why did the police want to remove them? Because if you are already there and you secured the pura premises, were they pushing you to? Were they forcing their way, or they were just there in the area? What are you there to achieve? If it is that you are securing the pura premises, then you have to coordinate so that they don't breach those lines. You have to set lines so they don't breach those lines. But the purpose should not be to disperse them. Yeah. Are you getting my point?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, but
so,
even at that point, what was the need to call SAR to come and remove them? What was the threat that they are posing, or what was the hazard that they are posing that required their removal? If you had used dialogue, again, de-escalation, it means police are normally 24 hours all around the clock, right? Stay there 24 hours, change the people. Then they will go home. So you did all the right thing, but the strategy that you used to achieve what you achieved was too costly, and it resulted in kind of public anger, when you could have achieved the same thing without public anger. That's the only thing. Your focus on the enforcement side of it is legal, yes, but is it necessary? That's the question. Something can be legal, but not necessary, because you can achieve it without necessarily going that length.
So, thank you very much. The first question, you remind me if I forget the others, about the Imam. Like I said earlier, it was reported at Kanifing. The other party reported the matter to Kanifing, and the Imam was also called at Kanifing, to respond or whatever. So that was ongoing, and it got to a level that headquarters feel that they should handle this. And before even headquarters, I think he was scheduled to be at the headquarters around 9 to 10, if I'm not mistaken. But again, we also got information that the Supreme Islamic Council summoned him, that they wanted to see him. So just to inform you, there has been a lot that was happening behind the scenes. So the
So
Islamic
stand down, which means stand down. Now that the Supreme Islamic Council have taken the matter, stand down.
Yes, it's difficult just to say it, because the Supreme Islamic Council wanted to meet him for whatever they want to meet him for. We equally already have announced to him, called him to come to the headquarters, and we don't know the outcome and all that, but we need to receive him at the headquarters to discuss this issue. So after the meeting at the Supreme Islamic Council, the same very day was the very day. Just immediately after the meeting was when he was escorted, even with some members of the Supreme Islamic Council, to the police headquarters. This is what happened in that regard. The next question is regarding the gala protest at Pura. Um, whether they have occupied the Pura premises. What was the reasoning behind, or what do we hope to achieve by pushing them, or whether they were pushing us in essence? So I think what I can say is this. I think from the very first point is that I think we have to understand that there have been previous attempts to protest in this country, and there was a point when people did apply, they were not given permit, and they're forced to do this. They did that. Okay. And there were other instances where also people apply and they are given. Okay. So for us, as far as we are concerned, is to establish a standard. And the standard is that people cannot force themselves to go out on the street, to go out on the street, and people cannot force themselves to go out in the street without going through the established procedures. We have to that's our point. Our point is there is an established procedure, and those established procedures should be followed. Anytime that those established procedures are not followed, then now the prerogative is on the police. This is what is happening. So what you are saying, yes, the fact that now they are already out there, they are protesting. They don't have any legal base to protest, like you are saying. Um, since they are already there, the police could change shift and keep them there until when they are tired and they leave. That's your position. And I think for us, that is not the position. The position is that since they knew very well that they're supposed to follow procedure to get permit to protest, to be there in the first place, and they fail to do that, reluctantly, and now it is the responsibility of police to ensure that that protest did not go ahead. Exactly. That's the point. Yes.
Yeah, Mustafa, I think I just want to come to Kana PRO member because PRO is ikafoko procedure, and then they don't have the right to be there. They have a legal right to be there because Pura is a public space. They have a legal right, and even near Jube, kabini di nuwal takaje, imantara femfola, imantara wurila, mo sabanani, nga wolle follow jelo, ibe lorin je, other people came and joined. So, moment rights of course, you will talk about ila intent, but ila intent was not to do anything. Ila kata kalo pura la bundada to kela petitiono di. So, not atol nata. Ikoyo ko mbelori njane because I have my legal right to stand there. It's not illegal, puri loje. It's not also illegal to stand.
It is.
No, it's not. It's not.
No, it is.
No. I disagree with that. They have a legal right to LOJ. It come for procedure. They didn't follow procedure. That's two different things. If I have a legal right guaranteed by the Constitution, purna loja, procedure bijele again, then yanta men follow la mambo follow. Police sol yanta men kela no wole muko yenaje ya fo dindi ko. You know what? Albe jenne baral mam permis soto and al nyalon ko yanta permis soto. Sign Allah ta nyin deliver la pura ya. Somebody go up, bring pura people, hand over this aljanja. That would have been very easy and simple. But they believe that police all natale to teach these people lessons. They came with the intention because the aggression was so unnecessary. The aggression was so out of proportion because last time they forced themselves. And then there's this tendency. So wherever it is, politically, get information, deal with them so that you deter them. That's what I saw that day. And that was so uncalled for. Because Imamul, you're talking about, it's the same Senate, it's the same thing. Let me tell you why I see the same thing. The kids, they went to deliver. Itatale pura kumandi. Altole imamo kumandi. The dindingol kombe imam be pura kumandi la. Nil don tata altol ye kumandi, but they were chanting slogans. It was really a demonstration. Chanting slogan, and it was so threatening. It was so threatening and scary. But Alma Finke, there were tons of people, more than the kids. Because nali adi escalate earlier on, nyindol binali batarafa nyindol parete tata because they want to stand there and deliver. So the police all came with an intention to cause havoc on these children, to teach them lesson, typical police behavior. And this is what I see, and it's very dangerous because Pierre on after Memfola, Gambia Falintale, and Alfonso Yajele, and I know as this is has been in the security, Saul have been there, Gambia Falintale. And more that it a tool police sola, malon tool for more that like a tool police sola, and you already see it. Now totally situation or jeko. Now people are even ready to confront. Being in the jail is no longer fearful. Being arrested is no longer fearful. Being even beaten by police is no longer fearful. Then Allah tamarinja nyanta change lale. Because you want alien citizen all be class because more batatale. Because you are denied a permit without any alternative. No punctum. Police will have to even learn that ko. Ninko yoko bi ita kenola. Sama or sininding. Falsa keno. That's how you deal with the thing. And you cannot take my right away from me that guaranteed by the Constitution because of a Public Order Act. If I'm is debatable, which of course I am very good at. But what I'm just saying is that file fanal ya jube ko alin hadama dingol alin sal man taranyola alin nin sol man taranyola hadama dingol alka wolle ta ntol fanang mom fesoto against altol. You people are our brothers and sisters. Akita nyawne ni uniform bondi bi si bembe do kono onga bendula do to ngaje ko fang be mu cleanity. So police will nyanta change lale. You cannot go because non-from forcefully, then aliena, because Sarla behavior tells it, Kabringa Sarde, and even the other police officers. I'm like, if you come on, you are like, wow, so they were prepared. Already you knew. So this is the problem. So you people cannot go with like executive young sitting ya kumandiro ke jana wara president baro ya kumandiro ko teach them a lesson, alieta a lesson. That is what is happening in this country. Fonga ofo. And don't for them paring all them because more than la right ala kote ke ya jame akle 22 years. Billahi wala talai. We are ready for that. Honestly, because nga respect le, nga bunya, nga lua bunya, nga everything bunya, we follow the rules. And that's why I always go back to the Constitution. I always look at the law. So nakara hatul ko atutu wujube la molle bal fola to la nyanta menkela. Resistance, we have to resist.
Okay,
I just want to say this, Auntie. I totally understand where you're talking from, and all of you will agree with me that we are an enforcement body, and total enforcement is the law. The Constitution that we are saying guarantees freedom of assembly and speech. Within the same Constitution, there are limitations to this. You talked about public space. The public space, everybody can be there. There's a public space. But also, if there is going to be a gathering of such natures, come here, already you announced previously like they are going to do this. So for the police, as far as we are concerned, it's a protest. That gathering is going to call for a protest. And the laws around that are very clear. Public Order Act is there and how you should handle that, all the procedure, legal instruments coming in Kafanyani. So for us as the police force, yes, there could be, I think the issue is the confusion is that if the Gambian people are giving us a law as a police force to enforce, and you're asking us not to enforce that, or anytime that we enforce those laws, then we are more or less, trampling on the rights of the people, on their constitutional right, then there is a confusion. And I think people need to clarify this, people need to understand this. We are saying, because you cannot also tell me the Public Order Act is not a law. The Public Order Act is redundant. The Public Order Act is not something that the police can act on. And mostly in the Public Order Act in Bolefokante. Because in the Constitution, you have the right to do X, Y, and Z. The same Constitution, I refer back to other laws. Yeah, and again, the Office of the Inspector General of Police has the mandate, has the right, to give permit or not to give permit. So what I'm trying to get at is the confusion around here. Yes, there has been change in government. You understand? We are in a democracy. Because that's the perception. Everybody, democracy, something like that. What I'm trying to say is, and already you have mentioned it here, for the past 2 years, what time we are not going to sit back and watch, a repeat of that X, Y, and Z. What I'm saying is, a minimum of the CL of Doro, and no Asiki no come for the resistance, for the sample, for the you remember the following day or a few days after that, was it a Monday, when they were taken to court? When they were taken to court at the council magistrate, when the youth in Nata Bunda according to court, it's not mile two for the file whatsoever. We also what happened? They lined up there or they sat there on the ground for Motole Borle Kampang and all that. But when it got to the worst, police have to do what they have to do because they have to take them to mile two. Those are the laws. So what they would do is to a gas of fight, move a janja. And no career gas of fight, Fanana don't affect in one way or the other. So what we are trying to say is from the word go is that there are rules, there are regulations, there are laws. As much as reasonably, yes, we are in a democracy. Yes, it is my right to do this. It's my right to do that. If I do the proper channel, I'm not going to get what I want. That proper channel has not even been taken in the first place. What's the proper one? None of them has written to the office of the Inspector of Police to do this. They just came out and they publicly say we are going to do this tomorrow.
But
So for me,
they were rejected.
They did not apply for permit. They never applied for permit for that protest. Never. They never applied for permit for that protest. It's just overnight we had this and this is what has happened. Yes, we can say apply it and all that, but they are applied for. These are steps. No currently begini atarako utonya lem ko itol ko ikaluwa le norma wala luwa men bijang amam beta wol itol be luwa kendo o to itol ke mo fro bien ko be tamal ni luwa o fana kumata. And I know Saul said this in the initial. There are laws here. So the problem is with the laws. For the police, as long as these laws are here, then the police are, can be able to use this law. So the issue now is, I told the master, I told the luwa jintola. I told the luwa jubela, alia jubi, luwa meni along bijang. I'll be marla lanya de luwa. This is important. Don't put us in a funny position.
I want to go to there. Not the jail la fang. Tol me ye loi di atolla. Bari tol man loi di atolla pour aller mbouté. Man loi di tela pour aller neng. Man loi di atolla pour aller drag on the street. We didn't give you that loi. So how come that day wo loi kitaje?
Exactly. Now, let me explain that.
Put everything. Bari haninte balanta. There is a way of yenta. Nyinin karo da madrang pam. So, don't know what they are told. Alka mol tamo kasi, man luwa don tolla. Alka mol neng, man luwa do tolla. So, where does the police stop? Even back to the dindingol, imam pamita. But it's guaranteed as well. Luwa me ngadi tolla.
It's not.
I can. Piaro, then Piaro, just a minute.
Sorry, Soul is enjoying it.
Sorry, I want to say this. As is yourself, you said it here. Why is it that the Public Order Act don't stop people doing gente and sabar and all this thing on the street making noise? Why is it? It's political.
Yes, it's there. It's in the Constitution. It's there. It is there. It's saying it is religion or social. You don't need a permit from the Office of the Inspector General of Police.
That's why the
there.
Act is political then. Because if the political
but that's what we have to enforce.
No. But PRO, the problem is I'll come and give you. But no problem momenti wole muko. There are two things here. There's a conflict in the law where it guarantees your right to be where you want to be and stand there and even gather there. There is also the Public Order Act that is so political. People didn't put it there. Jame put it there. We can debate that. Jame put it there for his own interest. Barrow came and used it, utilizing this Public Order Act against the people again. Yes, we will try to change it. We will do what we want to change that. That is a must. But at the same time, we are saying that the police should have the discipline and the respect for the life of the Gambian people. They have to have the discipline and the respect to treat us as human beings, not animals. Because what happened that day, it was like treating these kids like animals. They are not criminals. These kids are highly educated kids who also know their rights. Imanke refra faulty. Imanke, people who are just indisciplined, useless. They even tried to negotiate. You saw they were negotiating with SAR at the heat of things. So okay, Piaro has gone.
No. I'll have connection on maybe I'm
I know.
But anyway, he's always
Alonco Piaro has won his body armor. You cannot pierce him.
No, but Piaro has been with us. We've been through this thing. Like we've been through this thing. I know he wear the police hat, but as is Piaro forget that I live in Norway. We slap police here, and they will still calm you down. That don't slap me, hold your hand. We live here. We see. We are not saying that it should be like Gambia.
Next come back, he's going to tear gas you.
Yeah, let him come. I will take the tear gas. We are now ready to resist tear gases. We will take tear gases on ourselves. That's how we have come now.
I think.
Tear gas was.
Anyway, so what's your take on this?
Yes. So your thoughts.
Nay. I feel like the program should continue for the next few hours. You like to
I don't know. I just cheated, in Norway, as a black person, they give me my rights and respect me. Why in my own country? You see, these are the things that gets into me. There is racism in this country. There is discrimination. There is everything. Police see you and discriminate you. But the moment they get hold of you, they make sure that you follow. They follow the due process. They follow the rule. And when you now, even in Norway, we have fought to the point that we get what they call tickets because of people have complained about racism. We went to parliament, lobby it. Now the police, when they stop you as a black person, you ask for a ticket because they've seen how many times you are stopped as a black person to solve that problem. If they can do that with people, we don't live in this country. We're just citizens here now. In my own country, police don't want to change. When they see me, they are angry. And we need to say that when they see us, they are angry already.
Right.
And that has to change. They shouldn't see us and get angry.
Yeah.
They shouldn't.
All right. So your thoughts.
In his office and make calls to tell the police to do what they do.
I can only
Don't sit in the office and call them to do what they do. Because that's where the problem is.
Correct. I couldn't agree more with Nday's the passion. But could okay for Aziz. If it's legal, is it necessary? I think that's a good. It has sunk in with PRO. I think he got that. He got that message. Mustafa. So a little correction today, because Nday, you remember we had a protest in 1992. No, 1980. Was it 1989 or 1990? Now protesters where all the students in the Banjul high schools, they protesters had all the time.
Yeah.
By then, this public order act, Aziz, correct me if I'm wrong, this public order act was dormant during the Jawara regime. I'll be telling because Ngama have been in jail since 1965.
So sorry that it was not as dormant because I was arrested a couple of times just for putting Marxist Humanist exhibition on,
Jawara time.
Jawara time, yes. I was arrested a couple of times, yeah.
I'll be telling now, but when you look at it, Doleo protesto menke, and I'm glad the PRO is back. Doleo protesto menke, there was some destruction menke. We interrupted traffic more time from Banjul Katafu Brikama on that day. Okay, there was chaos, but I think what we are lacking, which is the problem, is we need to have leadership that is calm.
Hello.
Yeah.
Yes.
I am sorry, the network here is bad. So
until there was an order. There was an order from the
internet, so that we can talk to you. We'll demonstrate on that as well.
Yes, but Auntie, I want your conclusion. I have not heard you were trying to conclude. I'm sorry to take you back, but if you can conclude on that.
No, what I'm trying to say was that the police were just there ready to harm. They just came with that intention because the anger and everything was also unnecessary when they came to meet these kids. They could have just taken the petition, take it to Pura, or even call Pura people to come down and say, look, can you people just take this from these kids so that they will disperse? And then you tell the kids to disperse because they didn't have to do anything. They said they're just going to stand there, deliver their petition to Pura. So Pura have to come down. So that was the intention. And I saw that the police didn't even came to ask anything. They were just like, you're not supposed to be here. You have to move. Police would have asked even and said, why are you here? What do you want? And then the kids will say, yeah, we want to deliver our petition. Where then the police will take it and take it up. But the police came with anger. It was obvious. Piero, go and look at the video. The videos. It was so much anger. And when I saw it, I said, this is going to be nasty. Because police came to teach these kids a lesson. And I said the last word I said, Sidinjai cannot sit in his office and call the IGP or whoever, they should teach these kids lesson. President Barrow cannot sit in his office and call the police to teach the lesson. Police should maintain law and order, as you said yourself, and treat us all equal. Is it Ndei? Is it Aziz? Is it Saul? Or is it President Barrow? Treat us all equal. Because this is why we take you. But we didn't give you a law to slap us. We didn't give you a law to beat us. We didn't give you a law to drag us. We didn't give you a law to insult us. All that happened on that day with uniform. It's embarrassing, with uniform. And Piero, I live here. You see, people might say it's different, it's Norway, it's Gambia. We have racism, where you are discriminated because you are black, where you are discriminated because you come from Africa. But even when the police stop me, they make sure they follow the procedure because they know where it will end. In fact, we had lots of reports for police report about black people and Africans talking about black people, talking how police are discriminating them because they stop them more than any other people. Now, when we took the up, we took it all the way to Parliament. Now we have what they call ticketing. Anytime a police stop you as a black person, you feel that you ask for a ticket. The police will give you a ticket. So now they are counting how many times we are stopped. So they are finding solution. Now, if this Public Order Act is being a problem, I'm not saying it's the job of the police. We are fighting to change it because we know that with Barrow, we cannot change it because he's going to use it as a tool, but we will resist anyway. But the police could also, as we talk about the escalation, they will negotiate. They shouldn't come with anger. They should see us as we are all fighting for everything. Piero, we are talking to you now. You have problem of internet. Gambians live all over the world. We need to talk to you. We all need to have access to you. But you cannot even have the tool to talk to us. So the fight we are fighting is all of us. Not just we. I have no business. Look, I can live in Norway. I don't need anything in Gambia as I'm sitting here. I'm more than comfortable. But it's for all of us. We're supporting you people. We are with you people. But we just want you to treat us equally. As simple as that. We don't want you to be used by anybody. The law we gave you, that's what the law is for. But we don't want you today, Public Order Act, when we come out and say something that's uncomfortable with Barrow, you use the Public Order Act on us. Other people who are not doing anything, who are just causing another chaos, you don't use the Public Order Act. Those people, you can negotiate, you can call them, you can talk to. Because Piero, they could have called the group that was standing there, pull them into a corner and start communication and negotiation. That could happen there as well. But the anger that SAR came is, and I'm surprised because you see, that is why police tend to lose that confidence from us when we start building it. When you say that nothing is wrong, you came out of public that everybody see that what happened, that nothing is wrong. I would have even been more okay if police said, oh, we're going to investigate the situation. Then I would be comfortable because it can be 1,000 years there, the investigation is still there, but I was like, okay, at least they're concerned. But everybody saw the behavior. It was unnecessary. So this is my point, that the law we gave you is not the law we asked you to beat us. Even the Public Order Act is there. I have a right to stand there. When I stand there, you can come and negotiate with me and say, you know what, you are not supposed to be there. Okay, you want to deliver? We make sure that Pura come down and take their petition. And these kids are disciplined kids. These kids are not indisciplined kids.
Thank you, Leg. Thank you. Piero, I know you are a very good listener. And then, me kontane la bake nakeba atandi Sanyang, the Interior Minister, and Mr. Toure, the IGP. I don't know how can this message be because this is very kuma balle for jam kodol bije ni fota. You're a good listener, and then you karana, you're a smart learner. And then kodol bijang ikake bundala jimialo, you can learn from it. Model coming for young, they went through it, they experienced ying yaminta ulam fendi. So these are things mini alonko. Yeah, agree to disagree, but some of them you could take them on board. And then Moya Keno Nyame, because last time when he came here, I did mention this police control system of like a telephone number me along in the whole Gambia. Nil after number la me along pull somebody is a threat. And number to press free number with the network providers. Ale also no phone in Yanangalo no war still is must be hanging about for your jail. But Janim Befenkela, if you can share this on the police platform also, the IGP Kataradameng, and then the Interior Minister, needs a message to know. Please, don't forget lafta yin ke bring message for today. Ya for eko. Yinne for yinne caring and yinnum na mirror. Welcome to Solution. Welcome to Solution. Sol, Aziz, and Inday, Mobi Buffalo. How can we resolve this? Yalam banna observation. So we'll come to the solution side of how can we resolve it. Okay, Sol, your thoughts.
Allow Piero to respond because I think he wanted to respond.
Yes. I thank you very much once again, Mustafa. Regarding that, yes, the 117 is now active. Alhamdulillah, we've engaged them. Come here for be intalaka funti bantak diamu on in the name of the police, and it's part of my responsibility to report back some of the concerns that are raised, my interaction with the media and people out there. So yes, before I even came to this platform, I have notified the command that I will be here. You understand? So they are expecting at the end of the day, whatever comes out of here, I can give them a summary of what happened. So the line is Abigail and start. We are working on it, and we are trying as much as possible because the first step is prior active. So it's active and 117 almost have call nole and katoke kan le pour kaje ko isaje ni sa en call keta ni be basi ita banjul sotola de ni be basi fa wala sotola instead of banjul so kan ne banjul sotona banjul be redirect again into basi. So those are the things that we are having now, but the plan is to go beyond that one part. The other aspect anti for because it would look like more of defending, and that is not my responsibility. There's a misconception. The population officer is not here to defend the police. It's the medium between the police and the community or the public, to raise concerns and address them, and also speak to the public about what the police is doing or are doing. So, out of such circumstance, we have the Human Rights and Professional Standard Unit. Me yalon ko kabrini 2016 motanin kono wo fana established with our stakeholders will be is to professionalize the institution. It was commonly used to be known as complaint and discipline. That is between Toldama and police. But it's like it's human rights and professional standard. Me along ko more money for in police because more ka feel ko ni police ye toni wala ila kudota wala e don't imagine ni tata police or police lete in the fatal, So wala asabu nga ubunda ile ni more money police dun tanyola silo kamba wala do ko kono ba wala hada ma yafa damma kono yaje ko ay advantage ta wala ala part of the ama respect isa sa mono bulato is investigation or kinole and then plus fana asole ko is very independent because at the end of the day the report goes directly to the office of the Inspector General of Police and the more jamal biji men ya lonko kabrini established silo late councils. The typical example I can give you, if you could remember, there were about 8 people in Basse, paramilitary officers who would go on occult mission. Ni cigarette yi bande ka wafri nya do bi ka biningol ki ananyol. So tel ke fango bula usi fale la ke fam bula do ko la me ko police ni bula la comme ni jite da mole ka funyo madro eta occult mission. So kabe ko mo fata investigation ko de ina haje ko nyato nyawle ke ina ta wol bayle police ya amam me fana ya kala mugal fana nganda bada la fana Gambia police o me butoni kambano taraji akay tar Kenya me yalon ka manyiga wala kana tam menke wala fa masibo wala. So fana investigate tale yo fana by police ya dale wonnon na nyon na nyongol membe kiri so woko ita don ko tonya li paro nendiro umukulti me ya lon ko ani du ko nyimanya ta fen ka même fo don wolem ko comme ya fanya me we should be service provider aka complicate len nak nanata to protest because protest hani bi come handling them even more handling behave around that, and it's a bit complicated, especially if it has gone violent or come but these are all lessons for all of us in Golfangol. I think more from are public so that hopefully in the future we can be able to learn from this and make some adjustments where necessary and see. But again, until they public what
Okay.
All right, sir.
Okay. But Piero, Saul, we coming to you, Saul Baji. Left me in because already whilst we are talking, I was typing. Just to let the public know, you got a lot of people watching on YouTube at the minute. 117 is the police free line. promote sa understand wonyama. 117 is the freelance. So momo bijang ibe Facebook, ibe YouTube, you can tag your friends ko nim mobe gunjur, mobe nyamina kudang, mobe base, mobe sanyang, mobe dauda. That's the number more seven call no war is a free number. Pari, in police elipa. In police ene, in police FM for eco human resource. Number be yell about nim police kujo kele back ebe number min command lo wofana fonye piaro.
You see number, the same number is our call nole. The same number 117 is your number call nole. Wala, the other numbers that are there is the officer commanding and internal formula office number. Me along of mu, normal number. Let wall if we credit for the call. But quickly, droni atara ko jiko bije ko population officer PRO sisa ni akordong ila hajo la police yo kukela. Ndol ko kele, mol kante kolle kulla men ya lon ko ni police tiemala. Andong men nyi nyata je sakon na position wolum kaje ko mem mutili ngota tama mon ni multima sakon na police ka futandi anyanta ka futa dame na sin fal kata wala hani bi fanan ni 117 men fote ni atara momo ya ke sainte amon work no isente number call no sainte pour ka confirm ka yitande nako amantara work kande an ko lafan na nga ko ni waxti karle wala ima sikale wala kat wo fana ka kumaji batel bi as a feedback mechanism so ntela number 380-8535 380-8535.
Okay, thank you. So, your thoughts? So,
yes, thank you very much, Piero. Again, thank you for being here. There's a lot to unpack, but I was going back to Kadiamu, this public order act lakwala. Piero Jandi, before we got you back, Ninde Bola discourse Kankafoko, this it has been dormant, so to speak, although they proved me wrong a little bit. But by and large, Ngajeloko, Brin Sado, the BJ, Debe NSS Swaro, again, working in the government sector as a secret service agent, we didn't have the powers to arrest, but our senior top officers could do arrest privately. But most definitely, the problem also what we do is we engage the CID back then, because they were the plainclothes criminal investigation department, or we engage the police, Yamari arrest after giving a report to a senior officer in our department. But the Public Order Act, PRO, I want you to correct me, and in Aziz, because you guys are more nuanced about no constitution than I am. The constitution is the overarching tool. You cannot have a government or a country without a constitution, right? Except for back in the days where we had people who claimed to be kings and then they ruled based on the decree. Whatever they say, that's what happens. But the moment you have a country that has been built on the framework of saying two things, PRO, respect for life, respect for property. These are two key fundamental things. If you implement just those two things, you would have a constitution, so to speak. And then everything else falls in place like a branch, like branches from a tree, right? The constitution is top. That is what defines what the Gambia is as a country. If you have a conflict between the constitution of the Gambia, the 1997 constitution, or the 1970 or 72 constitution during the Jawara era, if there's a conflict between that constitution and any act or law that has been created or passed by Congress, Parliament would have violated the law, or the police acting on that act, which is the Public Order Act, you enforce it, you would have violated the law, which is the Constitution. So that is settled, I believe, and I want you to tell me if I'm right or wrong. Based on the renewal coming for Public Order Act Law, Biden, it has been dormant. Dalilo may used, and it's still being used. Again, we can blame Armaboro, but not so much because Armaboro yatarajane. He's using the Kamenfo to his own advantage. Maybe it is a way of calming things down. Let me give some empathy to the public, to the law enforcement, okay? Not that I'm siding with you, but I'll explain why. 22 years. Sanji Tamfula, Sanji Morning Pula. Me alonko Tinyaro Ketale, Mul abuse tele. People saw what happened in that country. There's trauma, there's emotional distress, physical and mental distress in that country. And if you need PRO and internet function in private diameter, you will express some of that to me. You just said something, you alluded to a little bit of that. Ko, the new La Finto, Kasi on the streets to insist that they were not going anywhere. Nadia Motoli, let them drive over them. That was a scary thought. And this is a very serious threat, me alonko. you're concerned about it. Your IGP should be concerned about it. Kafoko. Banko betaka nyameng, nimmanku ke problemo benala. So maybe some empathy to Adama Barrow, which I know Adama Barrow, he's just because you work for the government. But what I'm saying is applying this Public Order Act, perhaps in his mind and in the mind of law enforcement, maybe there would be an impediment for the kids to take pause before you cook. You know what? Ngata permito nyini, then nimbe fintila, because nim fintila Public Order Act they act on us because Willem Luat. But that law has a conflict there. Laftali, you just clarify that for me. I understand. The Constitution is overarching. That means people have the right to assemble. I heard you say that there's a difference in the Public Order Act where ni moltata kulliola warranty event killer will see assemble no. Even though ni be silo nyin cover for whatever event, they have to go get a permit because then there's an they're impeding the movement of people and goods. So they have to have a permit to be able to have that assembly. But then the other part of it, if people want to assemble with this Public Order Act, they have to go and get a permit from police because, again, to your credit, protest nyantale protection on nyantakela and they all of there's protest, there's counter protest. Posike no Gambia no was a problem on natile. Nimol ko be fintile bita pura. Other people who have poorest interest in a different take may say, okay, pura defend. If that happens, we have a crisis. I think that is the reason why, in this context, you want the people to go and alert the police to try to get a permit in which assist coming for. If it's not possible on a particular day for a particular event, then you can give alternatives. Why don't we do it like this? And this is where the de-escalation comes into play. Now, Public Order Act in itself, in the presence of some of your law enforcement officers is ila assemblo J, based on the Public Order Act, they either have to have a procession or they have to have a a loudspeaker. If these two things are absent, whereas the people are standing in a place, they're not impeding traffic, they're not violating anybody's right, they're not destroying anything which is contrary to the Constitution, they should be within their rights to assemble. Now, which comes to Assis Kamenfo. Should you legally use something that is given to you as law enforcement, or are you supposed to just apply it in the sense in the case of a necessity, or you should use the sense common sense? Because law enforcement, you enforce the law, but you should also be able to balance and de-escalate situations, which is in everybody's best interest. Police all doko number one, and I'm glad Kuroke Assis Yafo. Your responsibility is to make sure that a crisis is avoided. Number one, in the event you're not able to avoid a crisis, then you see how you can negotiate to get that crisis solved. In the event you're not able to do those, then you default to the third option, which is you must arrest. But the arrest should be based on the fact that more arrest to de-escalate. But Mr. Sari Menke, when he arrested those kids, and I'm going to come back to talk about this Public Order in a little bit. Arrest, what did they do? They violated their rights because we saw the video. They started hitting on them. A lot of these kids complained that they were beaten up. That's a violation of their rights. And I'm glad you mentioned this because being in Gambia again, Mustafa, what I heard, I was happy about this. I don't know how powerful this tool is, but he confirming that they have a human rights division that actually would listen to people's complaints about the police and anything that they perceive as illegal by police officers is commendable. I have to give that credit. Even though we shouldn't support whatever Adama Barrow is doing, because I am saying objectively, I'm interested. He's not doing what he's supposed to do. This guy's job would have been easy. Had we reformed the police, had we reformed the security sector, PRO's job would be very easy. He would not be out there defending things that are being done by other officers to come and he's in a funny situation because to build that relationship between the police and the community. But it becomes much more complicated by people like Mr. Sar Qatar. What he's saying, based on IMENFO, which I disagree with, if they have those officers who were there unarmed, and I give you credit, Galala forced a second protest, you see how successful it went with Mr. Sow who was there. And again, there are some changes in their behavior. These are our young children. In Dinual Mea Batandikam B, PRO. In 20 years from now, you're not going to be able to lift. You won't be able to construct anything. You're going to depend on these young people to build your country. If you continue to marginalize them, increase the physical, mental, and emotional anguish in them, you're going to have a lot of them in prison, a lot of them in medical hospitals to be treated. And what do you have left to build your country? This is where you need to really draw the line. You know what? What people are saying, we need to listen to. We think they're enemies. These are the kids who are going to build our country. We may disagree with the way they're doing it, but can we find a solution of making sure? Nindinwal nata pura. It could be now to present a petition. What Aziz is saying is exactly what I want you to take the message of. De-escalation. If you send officers who are unarmed, they get to that position. Those two tenets are not, they're absent. That is, they don't have a peer system and they're not in a procession, and they have not impeded anybody's movement. Because on that day, Purala employees, they moved all of their vehicles out of there because they suspected that they wanted to give the kids space to come and protest. So listening from somebody from upstairs, okay, you're destroying the future of your country and that of everybody else. Yalong Kamenfo, going na family law enforcement. Your former IGP who passed away. B, listen to me very carefully. This will be very emotional for you. Your former IGP, okay, what is his name? Membanta, what's his name?
Mahmoud Job or Jesus?
Mahmoud Job. Mahmoud Job.
Yeah.
Mahmoud Job is no longer here. Ala Muso Nala family, baby Jane, they're living under the conditions of the very laws and some of the things we should have changed back then, and we didn't change them. The Bitulo mentor, if something happens to Mahmoud Job's family, there might be some empathy from law enforcement officers, but you will be applying the same public order act on his family or anybody else. You're biased. So think about this very clearly. Is it in the best interest of this country to continue to apply the same standards, where people are seeing nyari mbahana, police nyari mbahana la, loi bi nyari mbahana la, okay? Kumbabu amde, kumbabu amde. The haves and the have-nots. You have 1% of a population that is dictating what is happening in that country. 99%, including yourself, is suffering under those conditions. Try to put some sense in the IGP that your legacy is important. Let's do what is right. Convince the president. Ka understand ko. People must be given the space to protest. Need not a petition or nothing. What you do is, even UPRO could be the public or the person who more be respectfully. In what? Give me the petition. Go bring somebody from Pura. Here's the petition. Okay, the petition has been delivered. Sign beta. The moment you suppress them and you kind of curtail their movement, you know, when you shut something down that has acids and all kinds of solutions in there, if you don't open it up to have space for it to escape, it explodes. I don't know if you understand this analogy of what I'm telling you. Every time I'll suppress, you keep suppressing them. It even makes it difficult for the intelligence officers to gather information. People must be able to move around, in which case, outside of their comfort zones, the police and the inspector general and everybody else will be able to gather information. But I know this because it becomes difficult. Wado Kebasi, who was the deputy director, if we don't have information, we have a problem. That means we have no idea what is happening in the country. But if people are moving around and people are acting like you've already seen in social media, that's where you get information to put yourself ahead of the game. Ka understand, Munebina Kela Gambia. Let's see how we can mitigate and solve this problem. Janin problem obina. Nal can you continue thing? Well, a problem on that, and by the time you know it, it's too late. That's my comment.
Thank you.
Thank you. I just want to jump in quickly. Wallahi, bi kacha diata. Sisa, I want to be rating Nekelang in the battle you won.
Unfair. And I protest. I protest.
Barry, just to buttress on Solomon's point and also Sisao, there is this. I want to debunk this ideology called the Public Order Act is in fact not in order with the Constitution. No. The public order itself have come to strengthen the constitutional provision that requires citizens to exercise their right to assembly, right to freedom of expression, right to procession. The Public Order Act itself, because the Constitution, when you look at it, is just making a proclamation, but did not go deeply into the nitty-gritties of how to achieve that exercise of civic rights. And that's why it's a subordinate law that kind of try to interpret what it means in terms of when people need to exercise their rights to assembly as given by the spirit of the Constitution. It has never come to curtail. Nyanta wole follow London. Police, all the mindset they have is that the Public Order Act have come to curtail people's right. No. It has come to strengthen it, to kind of organize it in a way that they can go about it. That mindset is not written in any book. But when you have thinkers who can imagine and interpret the outcome that the law is seeking to achieve, you'll be able to know how to go about it. So if that law is there to facilitate people's right to protest or right to procession, how do we now facilitate that? Is enforcement, physical, resorting to physical violence should always be the last resort. But even at that level, once you achieve what you want, you go back to the escalation. I will give you an example. In the background, I have a very senior police officer here. And Nakacha Kunu, he said something, he cannot understand why you arrest somebody and you continue beating them. Because you have now constrained him, right? You've achieved what you want. Why do you continue beating him? Liparo was to enable you contain him, right? You've contained him. Why do you continue to beat him? You will not see that in any law, but it's simple common sense. What are you up to achieve? So yes, when you look at it from a legal perspective, you did everything according to the book. But from the necessity, reasonability, and proportionality, you realize that amanjariwala. Just like a carpenter have all the tools, but it's not every tool that he used with a hammer. Does it make sense? Carpenters have all the tools, but they don't use hammer as the first option. Left and in mindset, let's prioritize a dialogue and the escalation. It's not a weakness. The Gambian mentality is that de-escalation is a weakness.
Thank you.
From your explanation, Sisa, I don't know whether you heard yourself. It was very clear. The trend, the trend is that these youths are becoming emboldened. We have to put a stop to it. That could be. But that putting a stop to it should not be resorting to violence. And I will quote the Jamaican Prime Minister's statement. The use of force does not necessarily mean and should not resort to violence. Force is the use of government resources to bring a situation under control. That is different from violence. I don't think the police are able to differentiate these two. That you can use the force that is, everyone coming up to prevent or control a situation without resorting to violence.
Thank you.
When you look at what happened in the case of SAR, what was SAR out to achieve? I can see that you've also explained that. Because in your mind or in your police doctrine, we've tried to prevent, we couldn't. We tried to disperse them, we couldn't. So we are now activating the last resort. And last resort is SAR is coming not to negotiate. That is the exact mindset. That was a great mistake. But even if that was SAR's case, why do you want to follow up with a charge? When you now ask yourself, did we come out in this situation very strong? Police should ask themselves, based on the handling of this, did we come out of this situation very strong? How is our public rating? Did we even get the support of the government? Because at the end of the day, the government ended up setting a commission to look into the same matters that the kids were doing. Did that not put you in a funny position? When there was no compromise.
Okay, thank you, Aziz. Thank you. Aziz, thank you so much. Much appreciated. I think we need to come round for solutions and then final thoughts. Time out at the bagi PRO, Merajan, but la Minkela. Yalam problem of this problem is happening. I'll make a problem of caring. But saying, Aziz coming to you, Rose. Yam raging problem. Unless PRO, you've got contributions to make towards Aziz la comment, and then Aziz can then final thoughts PRO.
Yes, Abaraka Bake, Uncle Aziz, I think very salient and very important aspect, I want to share, and I think, yes, it was a consideration. At the Alone, Jama service, you come in for debriefing. After every activity, there is a debriefing, and come out when I'm in total responsibility, in general, um, as a state, there are different actors responsible for certain things. And for the police, we have a responsibility. One, we may not even have to listen to anybody. We may not even have to wait for anybody. But me at Randolph Funtilang, for example, may come back Randolph Funtilang, hindi nungol ko ibe Funtilang, ay tanjiro kilala ko, alkalbe Funtilal de baring kali na ko tenin tangan takasilo tala ko kafundi. Ube kola ita nakafundi. Ya fahamyo. And police na nakafundi ka itan diko, alfital handi di bari, alafta men na fanato sot la jam. So nga janjam. What I'm trying to get at is, it could be seen in different ways, but we have regional command of KMC, regional command from the commissioner, the deputy commissioner, chief of operations, and the OCs. In my opinion, did very well. I know it could be seen differently out there because video level fintikang and video ka angle mel na fin and jama differently, but they did very well initially to engage these people, to engage them. They did engage, they try to talk to them, try to talk to Mali, try to talk to others who were on the ground. Yeah, understand them. And at the end of the day, for us, I totally agree. For us, is this protest will not be staged. That was our position. We have to be clear. This protest will not be staged because the protest in the first place shouldn't be staged, and we have informed them in advance, and we came to ask them not to, and they insisted and will be continuing. And I think that is important. And ni manyo mo hanibi, ni mbeka na kutumia ka be continue. Because we have to be on the same page. Ni mbeka na kutumia ka be continue, and it's important that our stakeholders it will be about a Gambia. And only I see the jang for Gambia bit for kaje ko nyimbe be kiri. How best we're going to mitigate this? Now, I can't seal for Jumality. Because at the level of the police, is that it's already abelade mbulle ko ni mo be protest kala within the Banjul area. First and foremost, you have to write to the office of the Inspector General of Police. Ube sabatrin tol bulle and oben tol bulle. Because kala ni mola lo blani o long. Aba kumala bake then ibalo neba apu la nyame. That's number 2. Ya fam. But ni atara diningol fana nata foko. You know, anyway, constitutional right din tol dale ko ku melon ka en tol tora banko tora o in lasa ka express ba express la silo me yalon ko weda the police the permit din tol la bank mon permit din tol la bank tol ba kelal. Then we have a problem. Because comme uncle Aziz men ko the public order act wala nata ka lagiro ke nyum protest men be kala yanta ka kenyadi. It's a subsidiary law to the constitution. So what is saying that the constitution has given that allowance for the public order act, yes, freedom of assembly and speech whatsoever. Now the public order act, more electoral but I know the lenses at which we are seeing it is different. Because as an activist, the way you see it, as another person, the way you see it is totally different. Just as in this side, the way a socialist and whatsoever sees things are totally different. What I'm trying to get at is practically what been told. And do dinner for an understand the sign. And the Bago Konofan Amin baby Janaka understand the police will de member Mambala Moye protest. But Nemo will protest now. You don't mean Belari, Tambini Walla follow. It's a bank to the office of the Inspector General of Police. Call Gina and told Sula and the Lataka Funzile. Feeling Iba Dina Wale Balala. Near Balala now you have another position. Either you are going to reapply or you are going to go through the courts. But I think we should not resort to forcing it. Ko adiata akuyata until bakela. Because nipo adiata akuyata, then that's the time when the police also would come out and the police in their vision of protecting that law, regardless of wherever, come Pacific Nyame, come Antileya Nyame, whether it's Sidinjai up there or Barrow up there calling the shots. That's not the case. But that's the perception there.
That's the
That's
case.
the perception there. No, that's the perception there. But
case.
for us, this is the constitution, this is the law, and that this is the expected behavior as far as the law is concerned. And as custodians of the law, this is our expected behavior of the people that we are serving because the tools are there. Now, the Public Order Act is saying, "Go, this is not the first time this is happening in this country. It has happened here before, and it continues to happen. How do we resolve this? For example, we are going to go by the law. We are not going to go by, these suggestions like Uncle, all of you are saying we could use reasonability, we could use this, the trust and all that. Because you also have to understand that this is the police. Yes, I think Uncle and Auntie want to add something.
No, the case is, I think there's this thing. There's one word here.
Yes.
I think we need to do away with that because I think they is coming on David as his father is similar source. As is Marlo, he left a minute for okay, they come on, they
No, Assis was before me, maybe.
As is here.
Yes. Sisa.
Yes, please.
Aliye a program sotole intelligence-led policing. Aliye sotole ba?
Yes, correctly. Yes.
Intelligence-led policing akamune mila role ti.
Basically,
the reason I'm asking this is that basically the reason I'm asking this, left time for la wole mintiko. Albukasi ali alfanyini nka mune na dini ngoli nya duntola. Mune na sila mfutata to a point where ika foko ali permit dinalma dinna we will go. Is that not signaling something like illegitimacy? Because when a society feel a particular government or a particular law is illegitimate, they will defy it. Now, what is the way forward to regain that legitimacy? Do you think enforcement alone, physical enforcement and violent confrontation will result in these students or these young youth changing course or backing down? Ni escalator, allié escalate. Ni escalator, allié escalate. Where is that getting you at? What happened when you de-escalated in the previous protest? What happened when you guided that protest? What was the outcome? What is the outcome of this? These are the things that, I mean, we are sending a message through you. This is not for you. Because you are only the face, but you are not at the strategic decision-making level. But I hope they can listen to this.
Okay, thank you, Aziz.
When you see a society openly defying, you know, when a society feels a particular law is not representing or a government is not representing their needs, they defy that government, they defy that law. So what this is, all these protests that are happening is signaling is a defiant, a civil defiant.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Aziz. Please, PRO, pass the message on to IGP and then the Interior Minister. Ahande, I think we've got some
all those comments. Because PRO said something like, if they force, and then the police will come with that mentality. So it's the brutal mentality we know the police for doing. And that is what they always use. In fact, I mean, just quickly to back to the Public Order Act. So you were talking about the Public Order Act, and Aziz was saying that the Public Order Act is not in conflict. It is in conflict. Why I say that is that the fact that citizens are affected, the fact that the police are applying it wrongly, the fact that police are choosing it wrongly, the Constitution says that the Constitution is supreme. Any other law that goes inconsistent with the Constitution is void. It's written clear there. And the kids didn't even say that they're going to protest. They said they're going to gather. We are going to gather. So there is going to be a gathering. What the biggest problem I have, as you said one word, and I think the police should take that. You are talking about facilitate. The police is there. Their role is to facilitate citizens' right, not to decide who is allowed to exercise that right. That has to be very.
That's where we have a problem. That's where we have a problem. That's where the confusion is all about. No, the problem is. The problem is. Yes, I totally agree with you. In some. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is this: the Public Order Act, in this case, because if you are saying that anybody who wants to protest has to write to the Office of the Inspector General of Police, is different when, if you want to protest, you notify the Office of the Inspector General of Police, we are going to protest at this place this day. That is totally different with our procedure. Our procedure is different. Our procedure is saying that the police will decide when and where and how. And this is very clear. But we are assuming that
us. You keep on denying us on the other side.
But they have not applied. They have not applied.
But
that's
they
the
were
problem.
having a gathering. They didn't say protest. They said gathering.
I think
we are not gonna give him any media. He's tired now because this is going on and on. I just said the Public Order Act is inconsistent with the law.
It is consistent. It is consistent.
We all have a problem with the Public Order Act. Only the President, Barrow, and MPP and the police are okay with it.
Thank you,
Mustafa. Mustafa. Police will de banku di le loi di mol lam tamandro ke la loi men. So police will do tamandro ke ka wona. There are other factors that police could have looked into and other factors. Can you the social construct, theory or whatsoever. And I think to certain extent, yes. But as far as operationally we are concerned, this is the law and these are the laws that we have. And as far as that is concerned, the police has the prerogative. Yes. But I know my uncle is saying, in as much as you still have this, but you could do X, Y, and Z. That is also another yes. But what I'm trying to say is, for the sake of why we are here, I think all of us should add our voice, in every respect, to the youth, to the community, and see how best. Because Nimu Gambia, at the end of the day, we are here to serve the Gambian people. And Gambian people, Gambia. You understand here? Menu kafundi Gambia le anti fa ko janne ko ne ko ko ndefa ngande ko tara problem so the police fana affected fem bi jang Gambia be affected we are all Gambians. You understand that? But what I am asking as a Gambian, what I'm asking as a servant of the people of the Gambia is that as far as the laws are concerned, let's try and exhaust those procedures. That is my advice.
Thank you.
So nga ko album.
Okay, I'll just read few comments, because a lot of people are commenting, just to get back to that, and then we'll come to the panelists, and then you can say your final thoughts. We got Bakari, thank you. It says, how independent is that police body, and who are the composition of the body and the likes of that? Thank you, Bakari. I think Madi made a little comment here, Madi Jobate, I think he's watching with us. What did Madi say? Madi said, PROC is economical with the law. The issue is not what the police or protesters believe. What must prevail is the law. What the law says is that a permit is only required when an assembly involves a process or use of loudspeakers. Sisawa is ignoring that aspect of the Public Order Act. That is the issue. Mari Jabate. Omar Lum as well. Some few comments going on here. Thank you all for the comments. I think we'll come to you as is first. Problem of and then we'll come to you, Saul, and then Caesar. So, problem on Dolbe Ngalon as we all know there is a problem. So now, how can we resolve this? Resolution as is and
talking in the background,
I think the PRO side of PRO. Yeah.
Imagine protest na office on
Anyway, follow the Sisa Otentula Bake for coming on this platform. He has never shied away. Adum being ajeko ayala body amo beledum. I was telling the Kwasi to Sisaola next coming about tear gasland because he has used all negotiations and that's going to escalate it. But generally, ngamira nyanta membe fola nga fole bi in terms of police nyanta menkela. Bari, the mindset has to change. The understanding of the spirit of the law has to change, and that change has to come from above. What Sisaho is alluding to is just the law as it is interpreted. But he's not looking at how effectively we can implement the Public Order Act. Public Order Act ben janne jawarala time. And Saul was saying that, and we were talking about that, although Ndeko, she was brutalized, but when you look at the Public Order Act at that time, hardly was it used. Why? Because there were people who understand that's the last resort. Who understand yes, the Public Order Act is here, but we can always use other means. What I want Sisao to take away from this is the other alternatives men fire. Like what would it look like if they were to just pick or facilitate the students to go and hand over the petition and move out. These are the key takeaways that he should be discussing with his top management. What would it have looked like? Of course, I know the answer. That's gonna be. What would it have looked like if bringing Imam Lakwo Wulita me direct to the Supreme Islamic Council to avoid the attention at us completely? Alien Memmenke is legal, but is it necessary? Is it proportionate? Is it reasonable? These are the kind of thinking. Because again and again, I'm asking this. What outcome have we achieved? How does that place us in the eyes of society? Look at when Aliye were armed robbers, were bank robbers, the amount of applaud Aliye mentioned. Compare to this and ask yourself, did we come out of this strong? If not, what happened? What can we do differently? Minimum quality left Aliye take away. We are not here to criticize anybody, but we are sharing things me alonko abali sambala nyato. The police, there have been a lot of reforms and there have been a lot of success. But the mindset is still lacking and it's not helping. If security or public safety is meant for the public, there is no secrecy. If you feel there is a threat to national security, share it with the public. They may know more than what you know, and they might be able to help you. When you think that you are the only agency that have the competence to deal with that, you don't want to share that with anybody and just hide behind, we cannot issue this based on national security reason. And then tomorrow you turn out and say, the police cannot do it alone, we need citizens' help. It's a contradiction. She said, how can you see that? On the one hand, oh, this is top security, this is national security matters. We will not allow you to do it. We will not share the information. And then you turn tomorrow and say, oh, the police cannot do it alone. We need the public. Which is which? Allah Barak.
Thank you, Aziz. So your observation and resolution to this problem and your final thoughts, Mr. Baggy.
So observation, Ngamoy Aziz, thank you very much, Alma Mela, because I'm listening to his expertise. Aziz Yememfo, I agree with him. Naima agree with Aziz, but I do. Aziz called the Public Order Act is not to curtail the rights, but it has come to strengthen it.
Yes.
So I agree in that context, It's not that the Public Order Act, perhaps he's rectified and corrected me, and I agree, that it has not come to have a conflict with the Constitution, but rather it's the police that is using it as a tool to impact the rights of people's freedom of movement. And Madi Jobate just justified what I claim, because the Public Order Act is saying those two tools must be present for somebody to be in violation. Now, that is settled. The other thing, the Public Order Act, PRO, I'm glad you mentioned this. The basis of the Public Order Act, with the confines of our conditions that we live in, we call it a democracy, but we can take it. Is it meant to notify the police that there's an intent for people to assemble, to protest, or is it meant to apply for a permit to be given to them? Now, that is where a conflict can come into play. Because if you tell the people that for you to be able to move from point A to point B, you must seek a permit, what are the confines that dictate what that permit must be? Protest. Are you going to impact the general good? Because police all nita mari la protesto be more impede to go to work. Waranto jojol nyantatala court to go for proceedings. Ministers on nyantatala do whole alla protest ye mo be impedimento lado. Then the police would have to look at it and say, let's find an alternative. Again, you just don't say I'm denying it.
Oh, don't do that. Where is he? Have we got incoming, or is it the battery
or battery?
Yeah, no, interesting point. Right. No, Aziz, you're on mute. Okay,
because it's all a cyber rich. A jam fata de momoya criticize the wrong, you will go offline. Kaya jele baji that.
Cesar even seems to be frozen, you know. Hello, Cesar, can you hear me?
Yeah, he's frozen as well.
Oh no, this thing, man. Okay, sorry, yeah, sorry, yes, yeah. Sorry,
is frozen.
Yes.
Thank you, Mother. Yes.
I got a call. Please don't call. We are trying to conclude this. Don't call my line.
That's why I use my computer, because if they don't.
Yeah, anyway, but next time I'm going to use my computer, Mustafa, for the program. But in a nutshell, just to break down these things that are very important for the PRO to take away. I believe the PRO is going to...
We lost the PRO.
Yeah, so I think it could be battery or internet connection. So
yeah. So, but at any rate, Nimpareta, I'm sure he will pick this audio or this program and listen to it.
Yes, definitely.
But what we're saying is, if the Public Order Act's main or sole purpose is to make sure that we control how people would respond to a particular activity, people who are protesting, protected, and those who want to counter protest or want to create chaos in that protest to make it illegitimate, where the police would act because they think these people's purpose, that is the intent that they had, is different from what they're doing, then the police should be able to define by saying, okay, you're applying for a permit, this is the area you're going to do it, because the new one, you give them a location, yeah, for protest, okay, or do it on a Saturday where it will not impact people from going from point one to point B between this time frame, because new water traffic over Kalatene, all of those things would be to notify the police so that the police can say, all right, we approve of it or we disapprove of it based on these things. It shouldn't be the police will control. No, that is where Assis is complaining. They are using the Public Order Act in a different context, which is not in the best interest of the police and the people, because PRO, as is coming for. The public, we need empathy, we need support for you to facilitate our work. But on the other hand, you're making this conflict between yourself and them. If the police, neither Detroit, the police and in citizens will benno because of they see the police as against people who are different color. Nita left the information about drug activity and criminal behavior. You go there and talk to them, they're gonna say F you. I'm sorry to use that language. But that's what the people of Detroit would say, because there's no trust between them and the police. That makes the job of a police officer even more difficult. And it makes the citizen himself in much more of a danger than they would have been had this relationship been built where there's trust. It is in everybody's best interest to maintain peace, stability, and keep the kids off the streets, because that is what would bring down crime. Guess what? Walmart and other companies would be willing to come to your neighborhood to build a business and create jobs for young people who are frustrated to have a job. But if there's crime, nobody wants to invest in there. And if people invest in an area, crime, Mustafa, you know this, I know this, as is Yalo and in day. Is the cost of insurance for a business to open in the city of Detroit is expensive. Why? Because there's a lot of liability. The business only and the people will break in. There's going to be crime, so people may not want to come from the suburbs to come and shop in our shop. So if they're not doing that, then the business collapses. But if the place is safe, people have a feeling that there's security here, businesses will come and invest. So, William, solutions, Mustafa, let me pivot to this. We need to make sure, human capital, and this is the thing that I was comparing us in these past few months with Senegal, the attire, and I'm glad the PRO, to his credit now, he's always in great attire, which is the figure. He is the face of the police. The IGP Kemendung, every police officer should be dressed like that. I remember this, Aziz, correct me if I'm wrong, because Ngalon funding was a station officer in Banjul. Every morning, they line up all the police officers, they do an inspection. Everybody's shoes must be shining. Ila haircut, everything should be straightened up on a daily basis. Police officers looked near more age, you have a certain level of respect for them. So human capital, training to understand that the penal code controls what they do. Don't violate people's rights. Respect everyone, regardless of who it is. Hana Maria crime to commit. Nimoye Mofasa, give them their rights, their fundamental rights, until the court can decide that this person needs to be punished. Then you apply what is the due process. But you don't arrest people, you confine them and you still continue beating them. That's a violation of their rights. Look at this example, Aziz Menfo. Gala protest. This is a very emotional comment, Mina Menkela. Umar, the young guy who was here, Saibo, he hugged the police, Mr. Sow, and the all other officers at the conclusion of the event. Well, guess what? There was a point where they requested this guy to come in from the Football Federation to come and receive the petition. He was late, but Birabe Bolaje Kata, they threw stones at his vehicle. Umar Saibo was very disappointed by that. He was happy about the way they handled themselves. At the event, they stopped communicating using loudspeakers and everything else. They sent everybody home because the protest ended at a certain time. Next, they can just gather there because they insisted everybody must show up to get the petition. But He was very emotionally distressed by that. That the intent you have just violated that. And guess what the kids did? They picked up all the stones, they picked up all the things clear. I'm telling you, if you empower these young people, Arma Barola Doko be Isla, but I don't want Arma Barola Doko easy. We just want him out. So he let him digging himself into a hole, a rabbit hole at the bone all damn. That's my comment. Alabarak.
Thank you, much appreciated. Thank you all for the comments. Nay, your observation, resolution, and final thoughts.
Yeah, I still hold the fact that the Public Order Act is in conflict with the Constitution because it curtails our right to protest. Because the Public Order Act, what is saying that you require a permit. It's not like notification like here, you notify the police. You require a permit and they can deny you. So, and it's been, the reason why I even say that it's in conflict, you are always denied. The opposition or the activists or civil other people who are saying things that the government doesn't like, you are denied. The police never allow you to even find another date or time. So it is in conflict, and since it's in conflict and the Constitution said it's supreme, anything that is inconsistent with the Constitution is void. So if we create a law and now this same law is being used against us, then that is problematic. And that is what is happening. And I think this is something police need to look at and make sure that they walk around these things to address some of these, because it's a problem. What I want to prepare or to take from here, whether take it or not, but what I believe that needs to be looked at, and based on my experience with the police, I know I comment a lot on your walls and I write and I do that because I just feel that things have to change, is to just make sure that you know that these people, they are not against you. These young people are responsible young people. They are there to also express their views, but not to harm anybody. The police should understand they are there to facilitate citizens' rights, not to decide who is allowed to exercise them. The police also, instead of demanding permits, a lot of people are even commenting here. I see Madiano, just notification. We notify the police. Sometimes we go to get permit in Norway. You just go very day, and then police will tell you, well, you brought it late, but you can go ahead. We will get back to you and check. As simple as that. That can also help a lot to ease. Then also apply, please, apply the law equally. And the selective enforcement, treating ruling party events, opposition rallies, civil society, people protesting with the same standard. Please build, because that's the only way you can build credibility, by showing impartiality, because what we see is very impartial. That I will beg. Also, because I saw during the protest, some police were quite arguing with Madi on the Constitution. All the officers should be trained on Section 4, supremacy of the Constitution, and they should also be trained on Section 25, freedom of assembly. Every officer must know if law conflicts with the Constitution prevails. They need to understand that as well, because I think that would really help us. I still hold that it's conflicting at the moment because of how it's been used. And if we cannot get head on, something has to be done. And you've talked about, you have this complaint commission or complaint office. I think that also needs to be up there. You are excellent in social media. It should be hanging somewhere there that people know that it's there. They can use it, because that also probably can build confidence that I have a place to complain. And also to take disciplinary action. Honestly, what SAR did, there is nobody. I don't see anybody who would really say that was okay. I don't think so. Because if that continues, this is what we know police for, and it's happening right in front of our eyes, because this is social media, this is a video. This is nothing like I said or he said. It's there. Do something about these things to build confidence again. Because if we see we are being treated like this and police come out and say nothing has happened, then you're losing us as well. police need to look at it. Again, everybody said it here, use dialogue instead of intimidation. Gambian police are very good at intimidating. They believe intimidation is the solution. And I guess this also is from our upbringings as well. Why I say that? As kids, a lot of the time we are beaten. Everything is punishment. You do something wrong, you are punished, you are beaten. So the police carry those things also with them. This is what I'm just thinking, because we have that culture of punishment, beating. So the police think that I will beat to enforce, because if your parents talk to you, do something, you didn't do it, they get frustrated, they'll beat you, because when they beat you, you will do it. So I think this also police have to be trained or helped. As this is here, so you people who have experience police, they need to be helped to come out of that culture we have as well, because maybe it's coming from there. And that anger management, police should be trained on anger management as well, because we see it a lot as well. So also, as I always say, also before denying permits, police need to stop this denial of permit. They should always talk about alternative dates. They should always discuss alternative dates, alternative time, because we wouldn't have any problem with that. But because permits are being denied with no reason, nothing, just security threat. Who that threat is, we don't even know. So these also are things that, and also police has to also understand that ECOWAS have ruled against this Public Order Act as well. I know a lot of the time we have to look at our local laws, domesticate them, but it's also been ruled out. So there is a problem with this, is the way they use it, and up to today, since Jammeh till today, they're using it the same way. So why would we talk about the benefit of this? It doesn't benefit us. It's even taking our children to prison and now parading them into courts. Why? When the law cannot just protect us and it's destroying us. So this is, I mean, everything I'll say. And just in conclusion, I just want to say thank you so much, PRO. Thank you so much. You have always been patient. You're very tolerant, and you are always here to listen and take these things. And I hope the IGP and all these heads in the police will also listen to us, not just see ñi day yabaate, ñi dañ deger boppa, ñi buñu dañu dimbale, ñi diaspora yi lañ dañ fogne ñoo mëna doxal dëkk bi. I hope that wouldn't be there. We all want the best, as you said, Piero. We all are Gambians. I have family members in the police, high up, in fact, in the police. And we all know each other. We just want the best. And as I said, Piero, as well, we will have to protest to make sure that you have an office and an internet that every Gambian, wherever you are, you can log in and talk to us. And even Piero, I remember I wanted to make a police complaint, and I sent a message asking that, where can I put a complaint? I was told somebody has to do it in Gambia. I said, but I am in Norway. I need to, where do I put a complaint where I'm living outside? There should be also those facilities that I live in Idresma as a Gambian. I can lodge a complaint. Yeah, so these are some of these things I think we should do. But I want to thank you so much for your time and being here with us to discuss this, because if we don't communicate, if we don't discuss, we won't have solution and we wouldn't be able to solve the problem. And thank you so much, Aziz and Saul, extending your expertise and your experience in the police. You know me, this couple of days, I really am so angry with the police. But it's good to have you guys both here, to be here. And thank you, as I said again, Pierre. Thank you so much, Mustafa, for everything. And Suleiman, who is not here, Baba Mas, who is not here today, and all the people commenting. Thank you so much. It's only dialogue. We are asking the police to dialogue. We also should be able to dialogue with the police to solve these problems. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Day. Bojang, I'm not ignoring your correction, but it's just a lot of corrections, you know. I think, as you know, Bojang, a lot of people, it seems to be watching, you know, on the YouTube channel, not Facebook, but all comments are coming through Facebook. So you've got some officials watching on YouTube, but they're not commenting. Nonetheless, thank you to all for watching. Piero, your thoughts, and then we will draw it here.
Abarka Baki Mustafa, I can contact Bati Purkana once more. I think this is my fourth time, if I can remember, coming to this platform. And the fact that come Alia Fenyamin Jong, Banku Duhole, quite easy, not? The room was not built in a day. So, you know, some of these things we all have to learn on the way to development. And that still not anti the Public Order Act. Bal Daniel Drong, Alimul Mafe, by the altola dinna wo nyama anda wole nyama de anda be nyame ma wolem ko is not to notify but to get permission to actually hold a procession, and I think that is important to note. And Uncle Aziz and Sol Baji, thank you so much for the inputs. We will actually do our best and communicate accordingly, and together hopefully we will be able to get the country Gambia to where we want. But again, finally, I would still ask the youth or any group or individual who would want to stage any protest. What do semantics them wrong. People use words and try to make meanings to them because it can analyze them interpret them could be different. And the other issue is when it gets to the lawyer, there's another issue now. And also the Gambia Police Force, we are also proud of barristers and solicitors amongst us. So if I go most of these things, if I have only the wrong, nga foko tendem, nkalwani jubele, come uncle Aziz Yafanyame, nkalwani jube, jama, out of everything, luai munefo nyinkuoto, and ayanta kasamba ni menna, jama nka semendi wolela. And nun nata wo tembo to dron, iba fo kanjang anti jobate ngamira, iba fo kanko, as we speak, they are going to court. Ngamira kun drone do fanga safari kay fi tan diko taram ko le ya ajel le kotanke so wobi nana ta do tam nan kan wala sa hali sign wolem de be mol dan la do ngal wani no ma procedure no ma koni wati menna be kafta nyoma as a country ngal wani falin kom be la tala nyam ay di constitutional bi jam this is the executive here and this is the public here but again at the end of the day ngamira ngani wol be mu ku fi wanti wo sabu kamala mbal kentu lambal jela.
PRO, thank you all for your comments and contributions. For and on behalf of all, Aziz, do you know Bori Bojang? You're on mute, Aziz. Aziz, you're on mute. You're on mute.
I can't remember this Bori Bojang.
All right, that's fine. Okay, thanks. This is for you, PRO, for you to take it on board. For the PRO, to giving the public opinion on the Public Order Act. Is GPF in any position to advise the government to amend or repeal this Public Order Act? So if you have the time, you can go through the comment box, to share your thoughts on there. A lot of coming through the Facebook here. For and on behalf of all the civic education team, Alaji Sedi Baro is a long time. Evinyani. Madi Moken Bamba Mas Kadim Rasulu. Kadim, where are you? Sol Jeng, thank you. He's not here today. PRO, thank you so much for the time, energy, and effort. We do appreciate this so much. Sol Baji, thank you very much. Who is part of the panelists now? Weekly is going to be here. Aziz Bojang, Aziz Bojang, thank you so much, and I thank you all for your time and energy.
But in the end, they labantaka sisa on halde.
Manehal at all. Manehal.
Yeah.
Right, thank you all. This is where we draw the curtain for tonight's edition of Civic Education Program. For on behalf of all the panelists here, my name is Mustafa Jame at the seat. Good evening.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much. Thank you, guys. Thank
Bye-bye.
you.